Is in the matter of Jones versus Stegall. Step forward, please.
18-year-old waitress Bonnie Jones is suing her ex-boyfriend, 20-year-old tile installer Thomas Stegall, for writing checks from a shared account after they broke up.
Miss Jones, Mr. Stegall was your boyfriend.
Yes.
While you were together, you made the monumental mistake of having a joint bank account with him.
Yes.
It's probably a mistake for both of you, but certainly since you're on that side of the table, it was a bigger mistake for you. According to your complaint, at the time you broke up, you left some of the checks in the apartment or in the house where you were living.
Yes.
Mr. Stegall found those checks because he had not been writing checks on the account you had. And over the next month, he wrote a series of checks. The bounced fees, et cetera, came to about $600. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And there's no question, these were all his checks, his withdrawals, after you broke up. Is that right?
Yep.
Now, I think, Mr. Stegall, you acknowledge that all of these checks were written after you broke up. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So now, I would like you to tell me, and at the same time you're going to tell Bird, your defense.
Well, at the time we broke up, she was controlling the checking account. I gave all my money, my paychecks to her, and she deposited it. When we split up, I hadn't been using the checkbook. I wasn't allowed to. So when she left, I figured there was still money in there for me to use. I didn't know.
Do you know how to use a telephone?
I didn't know where she was.
But you know where your bank was.
Yes, ma'am.
Would it ever dawn on you to go into the bank and find out if there was any money left in that account?
It didn't occur to me, no, ma'am.
Okay. So continue. Bird's still listening.
Well, basically, I found the checkbook, and I decided that, well, I really wasn't thinking straight at the time, I guess you could say. I needed a few things, or wanted a few things, and I ended up writing a few checks that turned out to bounce. And she's called me quite a few times since then to let me know, and I told her I'd do the best I can to work on it, but I just got employed again, just getting stuff straightened out.
Would you tell me what your defense is?
I had no idea there wasn't any money in the account. I thought that my money was still in there.
So if you knew that there was no money in the account, you wouldn't have written these checks. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
So then you owe her the money, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Isn't this easy? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $606. That's it.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Yeah, this is case number 128 on the calendar in the matter of Cassidy versus Graves. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats. You're welcome.
Bird, this is another one of those cases of Dumb and Dumber, and Mama gets to pay the bill.
Ooh.
Which one is your daughter?
Erin.
That's dumb. Dumber. Miss Cassidy made the mistake of letting her daughter borrow her car. Her daughter went to a party and got blotto drunk. So far correct, Miss Cassidy?
Pretty accurate.
Somehow or another, Mr. Graves over here, dumber, got the car and wrecked it. Mr. Graves' defense, while he acknowledges that he went over a curb or a building, is that right, sir? You're not exactly sure.
Technically.
Thereby damaging the car, has a novel defense. So we have agreed on a certain state of facts. Miss Cassidy, the mother, owner of the car, daughter whose name is?
Erin Cassidy.
Drunk, blotto, laid out. He takes the car. Now we're going to hear his defense. We can't wait.
All right. Well, we're at a party at my friend's house, and Erin asked me to go pick up an errand for her.
Pick up what?
Pick up an errand.
Pick up an errand.
Yeah.
Is that heavy?
No. No, it's not.
Erin asked you to what?
To drive her car to go pick up an errand for her.
To go pick up an errand. Could you
Yes.
describe what an errand is, sir? Because Bird and I don't understand what an errand is. Is that bigger than a bread box, smaller than a bread box? What does it do? What does an errand do?
It's an illegal substance.
An errand is called an illegal substance.
No,
Bird,
that's what I went to
have you ever heard an illegal substance called an errand?
Not in this lifetime.
Not in this lifetime. And having been around family courts and the court system for a long time, we would have heard, I mean, we've heard of a lot of things, but we've never heard of an illegal substance called an errand. We're going to start again, Mr. Graves.
Okay.
You were at a party, and Erin asked you to what?
To go pick up some cocaine for her.
Okay. Did she give you any money? I would like you to look in my eyes when you speak to me.
All right. She tried to give me some money, but she couldn't find her wallet because she was too drunk. And so we went looking for her wallet, and I found it outside in the front, or next to the front door. So.
Look at my eyes.
Sorry.
So you took money out of her wallet, or you brought the wallet back to her?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh, what? Uh-huh is not an answer.
Yes.
You see what I mean, Dumb and Dumber?
Dumb and Dumberer.
Dumb and Dumberer. Uh-huh is not an answer. Either you took the money out of her wallet, or you brought the wallet back to her for her to take the money out of it, and uh-huh is not an answer. Column A or column B? Which one was it?
Took the wallet to her.
And she took the money out?
No, she said to look in it and take the money.
And how much money did you take out?
Just 20 bucks.
20 bucks. And where did you go to purchase this cocaine for Aaron with the 20 bucks?
From a friend of mine.
Friend of yours?
Yeah, well, a friend of ours.
A mutual friend? The person's name?
I can't give that.
Oh, yes, you can.
All right.
You're here in court. I'm asking you a question. I have to decide whether or not you're telling me the truth. The person's name?
Justin?
Justin what?
I don't know. I don't want to give it to you. Sorry.
Now, you're in the car on your way with the 20 bucks to buy cocaine for Erin, who was drunk. So drunk she couldn't even find her own wallet. And what happened with the car, Mr. Graves?
Well, I was turning to a left-hand turn lane, and I got a glare in my eye.
What time was it?
I think 11 or so.
At
11,
night?
Yes.
Was it a sun glare?
No, it was from a light, because I wear contacts.
It was from what light? Because you wear...
The street light. Like, you know, the light that's red, green, signal light. And I
So because you wear contact lenses, it affects your light in a way different from the way it affects normal people?
No, not necessarily. I don't know how normal people see because I'm not a normal seer.
You're not normal, is what you're saying. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
No, I'm not trying to say that.
You were blinded by the light. And what happened?
Well, I drive a truck, so I'm not used to her quick handling, and sorry.
You got blinded by the light. And what happened?
And I was turning to the left-hand turn lane, and there's an island there. And I went up the curb onto the island.
Thereby damaging the
rims.
Then you went and bought the cocaine.
Yes.
And you brought it back to the house.
Yes.
And what did you do with it?
Well, I went to go find Erin, but she was passed out on my friend's bed.
And?
And so then I just gave it to someone else.
You gave Erin's cocaine to somebody else?
Well, someone else was purchasing some too at the same time.
You mean you drove somebody else also to your friend Justin's house to buy the cocaine?
Yes.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Well, how many purchasers... Bird. This is very serious business. This is the future of our country here that's standing here.
Merely cleaning my
This is the
glasses.
future of America. How many purchasers were in the car altogether, Mr. Graves?
None of them were purchasers.
Well,
But
that
they were
was
just-
you.
I wasn't purchasing.
Sure, you were purchasing.
I was purchasing it for other people.
You were
I
an
guess.
errand.
Yes.
Sorry, he was an errand. And then there was at least one other person who you also said was in the car also purchasing, right?
No. No other person in the car was purchasing besides me.
I thought you said somebody else in the house. You gave
Well,
it to...
I brought 2 people with me, but they weren't purchasing any. They were just going along for the ride.
So you gave it to...
The person that was back at the house.
Just because they were... Was it their birthday or anything?
Not that I know of.
Was it a bar mitzvah present?
No.
Just because you were a nice guy. Because you don't do any cocaine.
No, not anymore. Not anymore.
I don't mean now, I mean then.
Yeah, I did.
Party time. So you just gave away the cocaine. Didn't want to use any of it yourself that night. Didn't want to save any for later.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know what makes me doubt what he said? The fact that when he came back, because she was sleeping, he gave the cocaine away.
Yeah.
And later today,
I'm not happy, you're not happy, let's call this quits. And he then crossed the double yellow line in my car and started driving towards oncoming traffic full force.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kathy Cassidy says her daughter's former friend, Colin Graves, damaged her BMW when he drove it over a curb. Colin says Kathy's daughter asked him to go buy cocaine.
How much did it cost you to fix this car, Miss Cassidy?
$25, $34, $95 or something.
Do you have any proof of that?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. Where's the car now, Miss Cassidy?
It's in my possession.
Did you give her the car back?
Well, she still uses it on occasion, but the story of what happened isn't exactly as...
I don't necessarily buy everything that he says.
Right.
You know what makes me doubt what he said? The fact that when he came back, and because she was sleeping, he gave the cocaine away.
Yeah.
I tried to wake her up.
That's not what I'm
sure
talking
you did.
about. That he gave it away because he didn't want to use it himself, you know, even though then he was using cocaine occasionally, he didn't want to use it, so he just
Right.
gave it to a friend.
Right. It's very kind.
Do you understand? Isn't
Yeah.
that kind?
Yeah.
Kind. So I'm sure somewhere in the middle of what your daughter told you and what Mr. Future of America told me lies the truth.
Yes.
It really is irrelevant.
Yeah.
She was irresponsible.
Yes, she was.
She drove a car and she got drunk. He acknowledges that she was drunk, so that he should not have taken her car, because if she was drunk, she was in no position to give advised consent to him taking the car.
Yes, Your Honor.
And therefore, he should not have taken it. Whether he was doing errand for her
Yeah.
or not, or doing errand for somebody else, or just being a jerk, he should not have taken the car because she was drunk. And I don't think you have to suffer for that. I just wanted to make sure that you knew that your daughter did the wrong thing by taking your car and putting herself in a position
Right.
where
I
she wasn't totally
agree.
together.
And
Okay.
she agrees. She
Good.
understands.
Absolutely fine. In any event, Mr. Graves was driving the car. Unfortunately for him, he was blinded by whatever light it was. Maybe it was a shooting star. He owes you $25.34. That's $2,534. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much. Goodbye, and I wish us all luck.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Oh, he's excused. You may step out.
I did not ask for drugs that night, and I did not tell him to go take my car to do drugs. In fact, he was the one that did the drugs, so.
She was coherent at the time when I asked her for her keys,
I was never asked. That's not the truth.
and Alicia was inside the room with me when I got the keys from her.
So that was the first lie.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Pike versus Pedersen, step forward, please.
Landscaper Richard Pike is suing ex-girlfriend, loan consultant Tanya Pedersen, for breaking a lease when he suddenly moved out. Tanya says Richard told her he wanted to be single again.
Mr. Pike, the defendant was your girlfriend. According to your complaint, you lived together someplace else, and you've been together for a while, and you came down to
San Diego,
and took an apartment together, along with a third roommate. Is this the third roommate?
Yes, Your Honor, it is.
Good. You signed a lease, all three of you, and you moved in February of this
Correct.
year. And according to you, a month later, the defendant moved out.
Yes.
And you want her to be responsible for her third share of the remainder of the lease, right?
That's correct.
Plus, you want her to pay for half the amount that you believe she owes on a credit card that's in your name because you used it to pay joint bills.
Correct, Your Honor.
Ms. Peterson says that you made it unsafe for her to live there and that she doesn't owe you anything on the credit card. She paid as she went. And she says, how dare you sue her for any money when you used her car and her gas and her insurance on the car for almost a year without giving her any money.
That's correct.
The lease was signed January 1st or starting February 1st?
February 5th, I believe it was.
How many bedrooms are in the apartment?
2 bedrooms.
You were sharing one with Miss Peterson.
Correct.
And
Joseph.
Joseph had his own bedroom. So how much rent was Joseph paying?
$650 a month, I believe it was, and we were paying $670.
Are you all still living there, is that right?
Joseph and I are, yes.
You going to continue to stay there?
Yes, Your Honor.
You don't want anybody else sharing your room with you, do you?
Not at this particular moment, no.
Then why are you bothering her about the rent?
Because we moved in with an agreement that we had planned all this, and if she had, not wanted to live there, then she shouldn't have moved in the first place. And
Well, let's go back a second. She moved out on what date?
approximately March 8th.
March 5th, Your Honor.
And did you pay March's rent?
Yes, I did.
What about April? Did you give money in April?
No, I did not.
According
That's
to
incorrect, Your Honor. She
according-
paid me for April rent.
Okay.
You paid for April rent. See that? How did she give you April's rent?
Reluctantly,
No, how did she give it to you?
in a check, form of a cashier's check made out to the landlord.
Now, Miss Peterson, you want to tell me why you moved out?
Yes, on the morning of March 5th, on the way to work, we had been sharing my car, and he was driving me to work. He was venting to me about wanting to be single, about feeling like a...
No, I want you to tell me what he said.
Okay, he basically said he wanted to be single. And
you said why?
He said that I was inadequate, pretty much.
And Mr. Pike, you remember that conversation?
But I didn't tell her she was inadequate.
What did you tell her?
I told her that, you know, I was frustrated with the way things were going as far as, like, you know, me doing all the cleaning and upkeep on all the things and the bills and worrying about the bills. And wasn't being, I was just being figurative when I said that. I wasn't being literal. Just something I said off the top of my head.
That'll teach you. So you told...
So on the way, he dropped me off. I let it go. He picked me up from work, and I said, well, I want to finish this conversation. I agree with you. I'm not happy. You're not happy. Let's call this quits. And he said, well, why aren't you happy? I said, there's lots of reasons. And he then crossed the double yellow line in my car and started driving towards oncoming traffic full force.
That's incorrect, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
We're coming towards oncoming traffic, and he peels into a parking lot, slams on the brakes, yelling profanities at me, jumps out of the car, slams the door, walks away. I was standing there shaking, about 5 minutes.
So you had a big fight?
Yes, and I left, drove away, got my stuff, and left.
Okay. Does the fight sound familiar to you? That
Half of it does. I was stranded out where I was left, and then my roommate came to pick me up.
So you remember having this big fight?
Right.
Mr. Pike, if I find that it's not a good idea for the two of you to live together, which I do, you're not happy with her, she's not happy with you, you're certainly not going to share a room together for the next 10 months. You have to do, or she has to do, what we call mitigating the damages, which means reducing any damages that there might be. So you can do either one of 3 things, Mr. Pike. You can either pay it yourself with Joseph, and the two of you live there together. That's one choice. You can, at this date, find a new roommate to share your room with you, your bigger room. That's your second choice. The third choice is to have Miss Peterson find you a roommate. She might be able to do that. You might not like it. But that would also mitigate your damages. So you want to tell me what's your pleasure?
According to the choices, let's see.
One from column A, one from B, or is it door C?
But there's no room for someone to move in there. When am I going to have another guy move in there like we're in college, you know? I mean, I'm 30 years old. And she signed a lease. Why did she sign a lease if she didn't want to live there?
Because, Mr. Pike, when she signed the lease, it was anticipated by both of you that you would be able to share a room together and live as a couple.
We did for a year and a half before that in Seattle.
Pay careful attention to me, sir. That didn't work out. And based upon what I heard, it didn't work out by mutual agreement. You weren't happy, and you let her know that. She wasn't happy. Then there was a flare-up, and I find that it is not in the best interest of the community for the two of you to be forced to live together. Therefore, in contract law, you have to do what's necessary to mitigate your damages. She's not moving in with Joseph because he's your friend. You want to stay there with him alone, pay your rent. You want her to find you a roommate? I'll order that she put ads in the newspaper, select somebody. You never can tell. You may get a roommate that looks like her. Go ahead.
I'll take choice A on that one.
That you and Joseph will stay together. I sort of thought that you would. Now, you want to go into this credit card with me, sir?
She couldn't get a credit card because of her current credit status, so I filed for a credit card, got one, and we used it just for groceries, living expenses. It was always agreed upon. You know, she'd always promised to pay half of it.
Now I'll hear your end of it.
Yes. The whole time that we were together, I used my debit card for food purchases, gas purchases, car purchases, insurance. He was using my car for a year. The total amount of expenses that were incurred for both of us over the last 12 months is over $10,000.
Show me.
Then, Your Honor, that's incorrect because I sold my truck August of 2002 for us to have money to move down here. And so I only used her car in Seattle for like 2 months.
I'm looking at her debits. I want to see her debits since while you were living together.
And you can note on there... Oh.
Shh. And I want to see the final bill as of March 5th. Well, it seems she had a bank balance and she had money that she was taking out pretty regularly. Larger
I used
item.
my debit card as well as the credit card, too. I mean, I had a debit card as well.
Show me.
I didn't bring my, I only brought the credit card statements with me.
Well, did you work?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did she work?
Yes, when we moved down here, neither one of us were working, and we were using the credit card to live on.
That's inaccurate.
Well, she's got some items here where she went grocery shopping and used her debit card, sir. If she went shopping for food and she spent $42 for food, and then you went the next time and used your credit card, do you expect any judge to sit there and figure out the difference and who owes who what? That's what happens when you live together. We do not have a court system in place for people who almost have a commitment to each other. It just doesn't work that way, Mr. Pike. Get over it. Hope you and Joseph are very happy together. Take your bills and pay them. Goodbye.
Yeah, this is case number 151 on the calendar in the matter of Espinosa versus Ruiz. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Ms. Espinosa, according to what I read, you and the defendant were in a long-term relationship, and you have a child together. How old is your child?
She's going to be 6 on Sunday.
And you lived together for a period of time?
Yeah.
You claim that he owes you his portion of a credit card bill.
Mm-hmm.
He has some of your personal property from when the two of you separated, and that was almost a year ago.
Yeah.
You also won a whole bunch of money for emotional distress.
Mm-hmm.
It was a year ago, September, that you separated. Is that right?
It was a while, like in December.
December 2001.
You separated in December of 2001.
I tried to hold on, and I did things for her.
You separated in December of 2001. When was this credit card bill amassed?
I got it back in '99 when we were together, and I didn't use it for a while, maybe almost a year, and then we were short of money because...
Miss Espinosa, let me cut to the chase, madam. Okay. Were all of the bills on the credit card amassed by December of 2001?
Yes.
We are now in 2003. So what I want you to tell me is, where have you been for 2 years?
I've been asking him to help me pay it, and he's been agreeing to help me pay it also.
But he hasn't for 2 years, is that right?
That's right.
Now, tell me about the property that you left behind, Miss Espinosa.
When I was going to leave him, he did not want me to leave, so he held me down on the bed and told me I was never going to leave him and that it was never going to happen. I then told him I had to convince him to let me leave. He then tried to tell me that I could leave, but without my daughter. If I took my stuff, I couldn't take my daughter. So I decided to try to convince him that I was going to come back, but I just needed some space. I needed some time to get everything that I wanted to do in my life together, because I wasn't...
Good. All right, now I'm getting into this sounds like a soap opera, and I'm not interested in a soap opera. What property did you leave behind?
I had shoes I hadn't even worn. I had all my clothes there. I had all my my schooling papers. I had a lot of pictures of me and my family, of my daughter that I had.
So you're talking about shoes and pictures and papers.
And I also had a lot of stuff, sentimental value stuff that my mom had given to me because she's passed on.
Ms. Espinosa, what do you want back after 2 years, madam?
Well, I know he doesn't have none of my stuff.
So if he doesn't have any of your stuff, what do you want me to do?
I just want something in return for it, because I feel that all this stuff to me was taken away from me.
And you should... Was taken away. Try taken away. Then you should have pursued this case in 2001.
I know.
I don't know what you wait for 2 years for and then say, well, I can't get my papers back and I can't get my pictures back, but I want him to financially compensate me.
Because I was trying to be a nice person. And
then why are you bothering the courts now?
Because he has not been nice to me at all, and I feel like...
He hasn't been nice to you, because that's what happens when people separate. Sometimes they're not nice to each other. Now, I'm giving you 30 seconds about your emotional distress. You got 30 seconds. Tell me about your emotional distress.
When I first met him, I was 16. He was 22. We met each other, and we got together, and I got pregnant, like, almost immediately. When I first
and whose fault was that?
It was both of our faults.
Good. So,
yeah.
Let's go.
And when I told him that I was pregnant, he told me no, he didn't care, he didn't want nothing to do with me. And
is that the emotional distress you're talking about? Well, get to the emotional distress you're talking about, Miss Espinosa.
For 6 years, he put me through everything. I was not allowed to have friends. I wasn't allowed to get a job. I wasn't allowed to basically walk out of the house unless I asked him for permission.
So, how do you think the courts compensate one for that?
I've just been through so much. I haven't been able to do nothing.
So, whose fault is that?
It's my fault. That's
good. Perfect. That's taken care of. It's your fault. It's your fault because just as you walked in the door, you walk out of the door.
Exactly. That's why I'm here right now. Because I don't want to let him get away with this. He's gotten away with a lot of things.
Miss Espinosa, I don't know what you're fabricating in your mind. What do you mean, let him get away with what?
with taking my property and not being able to pay for it. I didn't take nothing of his.
Listen to me. If in December of 2001 you went into small claims court or you went to the police and said, I have to get back into my apartment because I have my clothes and my shoes there and my pictures, they would have taken you. You would have gotten your shoes, you would have gotten your pictures, you would have gotten your papers, finished. You cannot wait 2 years and say to somebody, now after 2 years, I want to be compensated because I know you don't have my pictures and papers anymore, but because I didn't pursue my rights immediately, now you have to pay the consequences. Do you understand? There comes a time when you have to take responsibility for yourself.
Yes, I understand that.
Good. Now, Mr. Ruiz says that he left you an engagement ring. Is that true?
No. I lost it when we were together.
That's what she says. I don't believe nothing what she told me in the past.
He was with me when I lost it.
Well, tell me where you lost it.
He was taking me to work. I had it on my lap while I was putting lotion on. When I got out of the car, I forgot that I had it on my lap.
When was it?
It was after we separated, maybe like 5 months after we separated.
So you lost it after you separated?
Yes.
Why didn't you give it back to him when you separated?
He proposed to me after I left him, and I told him I didn't want it. I told him to keep it until I said yes. He told me no, to keep it even if I said no.
Is that right?
No, that's not true, Your Honor.
That doesn't sound right to me. Did you ask for it back?
The thing is, she just led me on. We're going to be together, and that's it. She just used me, pretty much. You know, if she didn't really want it.
So the answer is you did not ask for it back?
Yeah, I told her after we split up, yes, I want it back.
When did you tell her you wanted it back?
I probably told her this probably like in November. I want whatever.
November of what?
2002.
So a year later?
Like I said, she spent time. She stayed with me here and there, but it was just being...
So in November you said you wanted the ring back?
Yeah. She said she lost it. You know, like I said, I don't believe nothing.
She said she lost it?
Yeah, that's what she said. I don't know what she did with it.
Can I see the credit card bill that you had from December 2001? Mr. Ruiz says that the reason you are pursuing this now is because you recently lost a custody case involving your daughter. Is that true?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Stop being a victim. Be a grown-up. You have a 6-year-old child.
Your Honor, every time we go to court, she doesn't have her story straight.
I have her story straight.
And later today...
Did anything happen before the engine seized?
The oil light came on, possibly. I didn't see it. I wasn't driving.
Colleen, let's not play games with each other so that way you won't be embarrassed.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lisa Espinoza says ex-boyfriend Juan Ruiz owes for credit card bills, the return of property, and emotional distress. Juan says Lisa still has the engagement ring.
Listen to me, Miss Espinoza. I want you to tell me about the custody case.
In this past year, I filed for child custody and for child support because he wasn't helping me financially. I was working 65 hours a week.
Just a second. Where was the baby staying?
With me the whole time.
All the time?
Yes.
Not spending time with her father?
She would once in a while when we would go see him. Only when we were together, but he didn't have her by herself.
Then you had a hearing before a judge?
Yes.
What was the outcome of the hearing before the family court judge?
The judge told me that I worked too much, that because...
Can I see a copy of the order? Do you have a copy of the custody order?
I just had the mediation, what was agreed on.
What you agreed on?
It was originally ordered I had my daughter 60-40, 4 days and her 3 days. But she was crying and everything, and, you know, I want to do this for my daughter, so I agreed to give her 50% of time in mediation.
Let me see. Was the original order 60-40? That he had the child 4 days a week and you had the child 3 days a week?
Because of my...
I don't care what it was before. I'm asking you. I can't go into what it was because of. What I'm asking you is, was that the original order?
Yes, it was.
So he had the child 60%, you had 40%, and then you went to mediation that was just resolved. And the parties shared joint legal and physical custody. So now you each have the child 50% of the time. Is that what you wanted?
No, that's not what I wanted.
Well, that's why Mr. Ruiz says that you're pursuing these matters after 2 years.
The reason why I'm pursuing this case is because the judge told me that we weren't married, so I wasn't able to get none of my belongings back.
I'm not interested in your belongings. Do you understand? And don't tell me that you couldn't have gotten any of your belongings out. You could have gotten your belongings out with a police officer. If the shoes didn't fit him, the police would have given you your shoes back. Do you understand?
Your Honor.
And if you had personal papers, the police would have given you your personal papers back if you went back into the house. You chose not to do that 2 years ago.
No, because I didn't want my daughter seeing the cops doing nothing to him. There's plenty of times that the cops that came to the house when
Madam,
he threw me around.
Listen to me very carefully. I don't believe what you're saying to me Because from December 2001, when you say you left, up until 2002 in November, according to both of you, you did sort of see each other off and on.
And that's why I left him for sure.
So that you could have gotten your shoes and your personal papers. You had plenty of time to do that. Stop being a victim. Okay? Be a grown-up. You have a 6-year-old child.
Your Honor, she said that she had emotional distress and pain and suffering since 2002. Every time we go to court, she doesn't have her story straight.
I have her story straight. Tell me about the ring that you gave her, Mr. Ruiz.
Yes.
Tell me when you gave it to her, under what
I
circumstances.
gave it to her on Christmas Eve, I believe.
What year?
2001.
You said you broke up Christmas 2001.
Yeah, we did.
So how come you
This
gave her the
was-
ring Christmas Eve?
Well, I don't know. I was dumb. I was, straight up.
Well, what did you say to her when you gave her the ring Christmas Eve 2001?
I asked her to marry me.
And what did she say to you?
She said yes. She goes, right now I need some space because her mom was sick, this and that. Okay, whatever. She said, but she does want to marry me. That's what she told me.
What did you use this credit card for?
Every time we needed money together, we would just pull it out of the ATM, just money straight out.
So you used it for joint bills?
Yes.
Good. I want you to tell me about the agreement that he made, if any, to pay you back for this. Did he say he was going to pay you back, and when?
Yes, he told me all the time.
Tell me when he agreed to pay you back.
Right when before we'd go get the money out, he would tell me that he was going to pay it off because I was not allowed to work, I was not allowed to get a job, so there was no way for me to pay it.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you that if you're living together and you have a child, that each time you would go and get money out of an ATM, he would say to you, I am going to pay back this amount because you're not working, because I don't want you to work, and I'm working, so each time we go, I'm going to pay you back.
Yes, he did say this.
I don't believe you, Miss Espinosa.
I'm telling the truth. I know I was right there, and that's what he was.
I don't believe you. In any event, I suggest you go find the engagement ring and sell it. Maybe that'll help pay off the bill. Listen to me, madam. You have to put a period. Just because one lawsuit didn't turn out the way you wanted it to 2 years later. I don't buy it, Miss Espinosa. I'm sorry. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's just very controlling. He's very manipulating.
I'm happy.
For 6 years, I was 16. I didn't know what I was doing.
All I gotta do is tell the truth, and that's what happens.
He started throwing me around. He slammed my leg in the door.
You know, I pushed her around before, but I never hit her or nothing like that.
Socked me. I hope he gets what he deserves.
I just hope she leaves me alone and go on with her way, and that's it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Pappas versus Aldern. Step forward, please.
Mortgage broker Corliss Pappas is suing her daughter's former friend, 19-year-old student Kelly Aldern, for the cost of a new car engine. Corliss says Kelly drove the car with the oil light on.
Miss Pappas, you are the owner of an automobile. I assume this is your daughter.
Correct.
Your daughter goes to college?
Mm-hmm.
And she, without asking your permission, loaned your car to the defendant and this young lady for the purposes of making a trip. A long trip, 700 miles. The car broke down on the way home from the trip, and it is your claim that the defendant should pay for half of the cost for repairing the car. The defendant says that the car broke down and it wasn't her fault.
Correct.
Okay. You don't know what happened with the car because you weren't there. Is that right?
That is true.
And your daughter doesn't know what happened with the car because your daughter wasn't there.
That would be true.
This young lady, who was also in the car, what is your name?
Colleen.
Colleen sent you a check. Step up, Colleen. Why did you send her $800, Colleen?
I wanted to avoid conflict.
Why don't you tell me where you were going when you borrowed the car?
We were going to Iowa.
From where?
From Greeley, Colorado.
How many miles is that trip?
700.
Each way?
Yes.
And the car made it there without a problem?
Yes.
What happened on the way back?
The engine seized.
Did anything happen before the engine seized? Look at me.
The oil light came on possibly a little bit before, but I didn't see it. I wasn't driving.
Colleen, let's not play games with each other so that way you won't be embarrassed. When did you find out that the oil light went on?
Right before the engine broke down, the car broke down.
And who told you the oil light went on?
Kelly was in the middle of telling me.
What did she say to you?
Basically, the oil light's on, and the car broke down right then.
How long had the oil light been on, Kelly?
It had been on for about a second or two, right before the engine seized.
Had you ever had any problems with leaking oil in the car before?
No, ma'am.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Annie Pappas.
Annie, when you had the car, did you have to put oil in the car frequently?
I put oil in, we serviced it in June, right? Correct. And we put oil in it how long before? I'm sorry, I didn't know exactly. My dad always put oil in the car for us, so.
How old a car is this?
It's 1990.
So the car's 13 years old.
Yeah, so you do put oil in it.
And you have this car at college?
Yes, my mom gave it to me.
So, Ms. Pappas, what makes you think Miss Aldern is responsible for half of the damage to the car?
2 reasons. First of all, through the talk from these girls at the dorm, the comment was produced saying that they drove for 30 minutes with the oil light on. The second reason is that it's not a seized engine. It was an engine that actually had a rod go clear through the engine. The crankshaft also broke. The entire motor had to be replaced.
Well, what makes you think that that's Miss Aldern's fault?
I think if an oil light goes on and you drive or don't stop immediately, one would assume that you're not taking care of the car.
What if they were in the middle of a road where they didn't have a gas station?
Then pull over to the side and call for help. They ruined the engine.
How do I know whether or not the same thing might not have happened to your daughter? She doesn't know one thing from another about changing oil. She says, my dad takes care of that.
She does recognize if a light comes on, you stop.
According to Kelly, the light went on a few seconds before the engine seized.
I don't believe that. I don't.
Well, how do I know that? You weren't there.
That's true.
If your theory of the case is, Ms. Pappas, that the person driving the car, that would be Kelly, was negligent because she did not stop immediately and put oil in the car or call for help, then what is your theory with regard to Colleen being responsible? And you insisted that she give you half.
That's a valid point. However, no matter, even if you were in a brand new car and you drove 700 miles, when you stopped to purchase gasoline, you could check on the oil. I just thought people did that.
I don't check my oil every time I go into a gas station. What I'm asking you, Ms. Pappas, is why would you think Colleen would be responsible for half of your cost? She wasn't driving. She's a passenger.
I thought that she would be responsible because when she took the car from Ann, both girls said that if they broke it, they would buy the car. If any damage was created to the car under any circumstances,
oh, well, that's a different story. Did you say that?
We did make an agreement when we took the car. Annie said, if you break it, you buy it, and we did agree to that. But we...
Just a second. That's a horse of a different color. Now, Kelly, but for the fact that you agreed to take care of any damage to the car while it was in your possession, you would not be responsible. But if you said to Miss Pappas, anything that happens to the car, if we break it, we buy it, that means that you're going to take care of it.
Well, we didn't say exactly if anything happens to the car. The understanding was more...
Don't tell me what the understanding was. The words. Just the words.
Okay, the words, Annie said, you break it, you buy it, and we said, okay.
You owe her $800, my dear. You owe her $800. You wouldn't ordinarily. But if she said to you, you break it, you buy it, and you said, okay, you are guaranteeing the return of that car in the same condition that you took it in. Therefore, you owe her $800. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are... Yeah, this is case number 136 on the calendar in the matter of Reed versus Fishback. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Mr. Reed, you and Miss Fishback had a relationship and you have a child together. How old is your child?
Should be 2 in July.
According to your complaint, you had some sort of an altercation with Miss Fishback and you separated.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Fishback, don't laugh.
I'm not laughing.
Good.
Okay.
And in retaliation, she went to your home. She really broke into your home, according to you. She got your keys and broke into your home. She poured bleach all over your clothes. She also tried to poison a pet snake of yours by putting bleach in the water. And you claim that she has continually harassed you and even assaulted you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll let her tell me about her defense. You tell me when you separated, sir.
Shortly after our daughter was born.
That was 2 years ago.
Yes, ma'am.
When was this incident with the clothes?
The incident with my clothes happened in February of last year.
Tell me about it.
Prior to this, you know, we had a daughter, and...
Could you first of all, speak up and faster, because I have other things to do today.
I'm sorry.
Where are you from?
Georgia.
Things are slow in Georgia. I'm from Brooklyn. Things are speeded up a little.
Okay. On the night in question, me and my roommate, we have college night, and we was going to the club on Thursday. We went to the club. Miss Fishback showed up.
And you had already broken up at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Shortly after, I noticed she departed, but didn't think anything of it. I went home. My roommate went to his room. I went to mine, and I went in my closet, and I noticed there were spots all over my clothes, so I immediately looked to the ceiling to see if stuff was coming from the ceiling, because I didn't know where it was from.
And you noticed that your clothes were full of bleach?
Yeah,
You could take out one piece. You don't have to show me the whole thing.
well, here's a sweater.
Okay, good.
And,
Clear. All right, Miss Fishback, you want to tell me why you poured bleach on his clothes?
Well, I poured bleach on his clothes because I found out that he was sleeping with a so-called friend of mine, but she turned out not to be my friend because she was sleeping with him.
Why didn't you pour bleach on her clothes?
Yeah, that's
Shh. I asked you a question. She was your friend.
She was, yeah.
Just listen to me. You poured bleach on his clothes, and you weren't together with him anymore. So he wasn't betraying you with sleeping with somebody else.
Yes, he was.
Your friend was betraying you if she was having...
Well, her too.
Well,
we dealt with her later.
How did you deal with her later?
Well, just with talking about it and let it be.
That's not true.
That is true.
Listen to me. Don't speak.
Yes.
Now I'm asking Miss Fishback. How did you deal with your friend later?
Well, we...
Who's we?
Well, not we, but
Could you look
myself.
at me? Look at my... Listen to me. Look here.
Okay, well, we talked about it, and she lied. And
So
I
what
found
did you
out
do?
she was lying. Then we talked about it some more, and that was it. I didn't do anything.
Well, so my question to you, Miss
fight her, I
Fishback,
didn't
pay
touch
attention,
her.
pay careful attention.
I didn't hear what you said.
Because you keep talking.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So what you have to do is pay attention.
Okay.
If your friend betrayed you, then you deal with your friend by talking. Now, you went into his room, because there wasn't even a question. I didn't ask you, did you do it? I said, why did you do it? Now you can tell me why you don't think you're financially responsible for it.
Because we...
Look over here.
I paid for some of those clothes.
So?
That were bleached. So they were mine.
They weren't yours.
Okay.
So, how much are the clothes worth, sir?
Well, there's no real way for me to...
Well, tell me what they are. Why don't you take them out? Let's take a look at them. How many sweaters? How many pants?
Well, I have in my police report that I filed an estimated number. There were some things left out that I just recently found.
You should have found them when you filed the police report in February of 2002.
It was the only thing that was left off was my leather jacket that my mom bought. It was in the very back of my closet. And from what I seen, you can't see it because it was sprayed from the back side of it.
You should have had a needed closet. Let me see another article of clothing.
This is the jacket I'm talking about. And
let me see another article of clothing. Nice clothes. How many shirts altogether?
I have 23 shirts.
Go ahead. What else?
14 pair of pants.
How many?
14 pair of pants.
You got 14 pairs of pants, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Now tell me about the snake.
Well, Miss Fishback did purchase a snake for me on my birthday.
That's a gift. What did you do to the snake?
It was in my cage. I didn't know at first, but then I have a...
Well, why don't we let Miss Fishback tell me what she did to the snake? What did you do to the snake, Miss Fishback?
I poured bleach in her tank.
You mean all over the tank?
No, just in her water bowl.
Why did you do that?
Because he doesn't need to have her.
You have custody of this 2-year-old child?
I do.
I would question your ability to parent a 2-year-old child.
Are you sure about that?
I am absolutely positive about that, madam, and I have more experience than you have years.
Okay.
Because if you are vicious enough, because you're in a snit over somebody sleeping with your old boyfriend, to try to kill a living being, then as far as I'm concerned, you should not have custody of a child.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Are you on medication?
No, I'm just sitting here listening to you. I'm waiting for you to tell me what I better learn.
You better learn to grow up.
And later today,
When did you leave the band?
The first week of May, when I found out that the defendant was messing around with my girlfriend.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ricky Reed says ex-girlfriend Tia Fishback bleached his clothes, tried to kill his pet snake, and assaulted him.
I sat in family court for a lot of years. Pouring bleach on his clothes, I can understand. I don't count that, and he's going to get paid because you had no right to do it. But I could understand somebody getting that angry and saying, I'm going to cut the pants in half, or I'm going to pour bleach on you. I mean, this is not the first bleach on your clothes for a long time. I mean, it's an almost standard retaliatory mood.
It's more than that, though. It's more of taking responsibility for your child that, you know, he doesn't come pick up, fought so hard.
That has nothing to do with the snake, you fool.
Well, it does.
You're a fool. It has nothing to do with the snake. If you wanted him to act more responsibly with his child, you mean you think that you're going to teach him to act more responsibly with his child by poisoning his snake? You're some idiot.
All right.
Good. That's what you are. You're an idiot. And Mr. Reed, you want to be a responsible parent?
Yes, ma'am.
She acknowledges she tried to poison an animal to get even with you for sleeping with a girlfriend. I would question whether she has the ability to parent a child if she can do what she acknowledges that she did. Damaged clothes, harassment. You want to tell me about the harassment, Mr. Reed?
Well, there's been several occasions where Miss Fishback has harassed me. Actually, there was an altercation when she stole my credit card and made purchases on my credit card.
Where did she take your credit card from?
Out of my truck.
How many charges did she make on it?
She made phone calls to her mom and her aunt and to other people. The charges came up to like $100 and something.
Why'd you do that?
Because actually, I just had the phone, I had the credit card in my possession, but I just used it, and I paid his mother back for that, and I paid for that already.
When you say you had it in your possession, where did you get it from?
Out of his truck, like he said.
How often do you see your daughter?
Look
at me.
She lives right around the corner. I see her, if not every day, every other day.
Okay, so you see her pretty regularly.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do, Miss Fishback?
Right now, I have a job at, I'm customer service representative, better yet. There we go.
What does that mean?
Meaning,
look at me.
Customer service.
I don't know what that means. Who do you work for? Give me the name of the company.
Macon County Greyhound Dog Track.
What does she do for a living?
Nothing.
That's what I do.
Actually, she just, you know, she's there bothering me. That's why we have all these problems.
You picked her.
You're right, I did.
You picked her.
But, Your Honor, she wasn't
Zip it
like...
up. Then you don't have a problem. You created a problem. Mr. Reed, you know, I have a certain amount of sympathy for you because I think she's nutty. I really think she's nutty. So I have a certain amount of sympathy for you. But, you know, until you're really sure that this is going to be an it, you just bought the whole farm for the next 18 years or so, and that farm isn't wrapped too tight. You got it?
Yes, ma'am.
She has serious personality disorders. So you better watch it very carefully. In any event, I'm giving you a judgment in the amount of $2,500 for your clothes, for the harassment. Madam, you better learn to look at this. There is some. Are you on medication?
No, I'm just sitting here listening to you. I'm waiting for you to tell me what I better learn.
You better learn to grow up. Okay. You made a child with somebody when you were not married, so you had no commitment. He wasn't going to be your knight in shining armor. That you can't seem to get through your head. Leave him alone. Try to be a good mother as long as you have custody of this child. That is your primary responsibility. And start to put a life together for yourself where you are engaged in some useful pursuit other than making trouble. Now do you understand?
Yes.
Good. Goodbye.
By this excuse, you may step out.
After all said and done, I knew I was wrong, but couldn't fix it.
Snakes can sense tainted food or water, and luckily she didn't drink any.
He doesn't deserve anything. He shouldn't get it, but, you know, whatever.
I've had several charges brought up against her, and something always happens, and nothing's ever done, so I'm just ready to graduate.
Charlene Juergens says ex-boyfriend Colin Hager owes for a burglary, an assault, and a loan for bail.
All right, Ms. Juergens, you and the defendant used to have a romantic relationship, and according to your complaint, something happened a year ago that caused all kinds of problems. There was a freeway altercation between the two of you. You claim he assaulted you, then he was arrested. Then you decided that you would help him out by bailing him out. You obligated yourself to a bail bondsman. You claim he owes you money for that. You claim he owes you money for the assault. You claim he owes you money for going into your apartment at some time subsequent to this altercation and ruining your property. Mr. Hager has a whole different interpretation of what happened on the freeway about a year ago. He says that you actually stole money from him, that you're not obligated to the bail bondsman. He's obligated to the bail bondsman. He's going to have an opportunity to tell me, but you're no longer in love?
No.
Absolutely not.
You don't see each other anymore?
No way.
No.
Perfect. So, tell me what happened a year ago, Ms. Juergens.
I was in a violent relationship, so I moved out of my county to a different county, and he followed me down there. He learned where I lived.
Look at me. Don't look down there.
And he showed up and broke into my bathroom window. And he...
Were you home during all this time?
No, I was not home.
Just a second. You have any proof that he burglarized your house?
No. I have a police report of the robbery.
That you reported?
Yes, I did report it.
I can make a report. I can make a report that he burglarized my house.
He admitted he went through my bathroom window on the police report.
What date?
On November 25th of 2004, he admitted on his police report to the police in San Diego that he went through my bathroom window.
Okay, let me see that.
Didn't know.
Because November 25th, 2004 is the same day as this freeway altercation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Let me see the report where he admits that.
I never even spoke to the police.
Just a second. Would you have her point out where he says window? Just circle it. Circle where he admits to the police that he went into your bathroom window.
He returned and climbed through my bathroom window.
That's you telling the police. You said he admitted to the police that he went through my bathroom window. I said, show me in the report.
Perhaps he admitted it to me.
All right. Would you get to the freeway, please? What happened on the freeway?
Well, I left my home because I didn't want any problems at my home. So I got in my car and I was traveling to my friend's house, and his car chased me, and I thought I should go right to the police department. And he followed me, and then he ran me off the road in front of an office, and the lady came out and dialed 911.
Keep going.
I couldn't call 911 because he was reaching in my window to steal my cell phone.
Keep going.
He hit my rent-a-car, and then he sped off.
Keep going.
So basically, that's hit and run. The police arrived, took my statement, and they went to track him for the robbery and the damages to the car.
Keep going.
They found him, and they arrested him. He said he had a drink and a lost phone, and he was crying and upset.
Let's get to the bail, Ms. Juergens, please.
He was arrested in San Diego. He knew my home phone number, so he called collect, and he promised to pay for those collect calls.
Just a second. He called collect, and the operator said, I have Mr. Hager on the phone, and you said, I'll accept the charges.
Not the first time.
I don't care if it's the first time or the 100th time.
Eventually, I took the call.
And what happened when you took the call?
He was upset and crying and promising me that he would quit using drugs and he would go to AA and never drink again. Please help me get out. My family won't help me. My sister won't bail me out. Only you can help me out.
So?
I hung up on him and I called my lawyer.
About what?
I said, my ex-boyfriend was arrested and he's asking me to bail him out. And my attorney said, well, that's a great idea because then you can bring him to us and we can get a retainer. So bail him out, sign for his release.
You think I believe that? You think I believe what you just told me? You think Bird believes what you just told me? That you calling your lawyer and you said, my ex-boyfriend who beat me up, who I moved from one county to another county to get away from, just called me up to bail him out of jail because after he burglarized my house, assaulted me, chased me down the freeway, damaged my rental car, tried to steal my cell phone. After all of that, wants me to bail him out. And your lawyer said to you, that sounds like a great idea. Why don't you do that and we can get a retainer from him and then we'll all be one happy family. So you went and bailed him out and put down with the bail bondsman how much?
I didn't put any monies down. I just signed for his release as my attorney told me to do so.
So they let him out because you promised to pay?
He promised.
So what are you suing him for bail for?
I have a promissory note that he promised to pay and he's never paid.
Well, what does that have to do with you? If you just said you're not obligated to pay the bail, what is the promise? You suing on behalf of the bail bondsman?
The bail bondsman is suing me for the amount of $2,500 for
Show me that the bail bondsman is suing you. No, they're not suing you. They said if this matter is not resolved, they're going to send this to a collection agency. Tell them to sue you. All right. Tell me this story about what happened, Miss Juergens, when you signed him out and took him to your lawyer. Tell me what happened.
My lawyers had him sign a retainer and they made $8,000 off of him.
Yes.
Then they called him and said, why haven't you paid that bail bond? It's going to collections. Pay it. And he promised.
Just a minute. Why would you take him to your lawyer? Because this man who you fled from one county to another to get away from, who just burglarized your house, assaulted you in your home, battered your car, almost killed you on a freeway, why would you take him to your lawyer?
To get him out of my county of San Diego and put him back in Orange County and let my lawyers handle it.
How many lawyers are there in Orange County?
About 1 million.
Right. And according to you, we paid your lawyer $8,000. I guarantee you, another half dozen of the 1 million lawyers in Orange County would have taken the case for $8,000. So why you chose to take him to your lawyer? The whole story is so bizarre. And if the story is so bizarre, and if it doesn't make sense, it didn't happen that way. All right, Mr. Hager, I've listened to the fairy tale on this side. You want to tell me your side of this fairy tale?
What really happened was she took off with my phone after coming to my hotel room.
Where was your hotel?
San Diego, Mission Bay.
What were you doing?
They're like getting ready to go to SeaWorld.
You were getting ready to go to SeaWorld?
Yeah.
Who were you going to SeaWorld with?
I was going to go to SeaWorld with my daughter.
Was your daughter with you?
No, she wasn't at the time.
Where does she live?
She lives down in Costa Mesa.
Listen, Mr. Hager,
Yeah.
well, you're always going to get tripped up on a little detail.
Yeah.
Because they make up the story as they're going. Do you understand?
Oh, I'm not making it up.
Oh. What were you doing in a hotel room, and what was she doing in your hotel room while you're getting ready to take your daughter to see the sea lions?
My daughter wasn't with me at the time. She was in Oceanside visiting her cousins. Charlene came down there because she had to see me.
Just a second. How did she know you were there, sir?
She called me.
On your cell phone?
Yeah.
Okay. And you told her, I'm here. Did you tell her before or after you arrived?
After I arrived, I believe.
And she came to your hotel?
Yeah.
What's the name of the hotel?
I think it was the Hilton.
Paid by credit card or cash?
Credit card, I believe.
And you registered there in your own name?
Yes, yes.
Why do you hesitate?
Well, I have trouble with remembering details. Yes.
Well, I mean, it would be a simple thing. Somebody said, did you register there in your own name? I said, of course.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say, Do you know what I'm saying, Mr. Hager?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, yeah.
It's the little details that are going to trip you up if I don't get an accurate story from you.
Okay.
Or as close to accurate in this fantasy that I want to get.
All right.
So she came to your hotel?
Yes.
For what purpose?
To talk.
About what?
About a relationship, and also to try and talk talked me into backing off on some of the accusations and charges I had against her.
For what?
Battery, robbery, all kinds of stuff.
Were there criminal charges pending against her at the time?
Yes.
Is that true, Ms. Juergens?
1, assault. Robbery is false.
So at the time you went to his hotel, there was a current criminal action pending against you?
Yes.
Well, at least I got you in his hotel. That's different from the bathroom in your house. Now, according to you, she left your hotel with your cell phone. Is that right?
That's correct.
And that's why you followed her on the freeway?
Yes.
Did you pay the bail bondsman, sir?
Yes, I paid him everything up to about $2,500.
Did you pay her lawyer any money?
Yeah, and quite a lot of money. In fact, I paid her bill for the lawyer, too.
You did?
Oh, yeah, I have the receipt right here.
How much did you pay her lawyer?
$1,250 on one count, and then I paid $2,500 on another count.
What made you so magnanimous?
Well, you know, she kept telling me that we could work things out, and she loved me and stuff like that.
Were those criminal charges subsequently dropped, Ms. Juergens?
No, they weren't.
Did that case go to trial?
It did not. I changed my not guilty plea.
To a guilty plea?
Yeah, after 11 months.
What was your sentence?
Time served.
How long had you been incarcerated?
48 days.
What was the nature of the assault that you pled guilty to?
He alleged that I scratched him and assaulted him and battered him.
Is that right, Mr. Hager?
Yeah, I have the report with the 5 stitches that I had, if you'd like to see that.
I would. So I am correct in the time sequence in this case.
Right.
Your allegations, Ms. Juergens, that he assaulted you after he crawled through the bathroom window, and that's when you took off down the freeway. That police report was made after you were under indictment for assault. Is that right?
I was fighting my alleged charge.
Correct. Well, the alleged charge. It's no longer an alleged charge. It's a conviction.
Now it is.
How come you didn't tell me you were in his hotel room until I got the information a different way?
You didn't ask, and he asked me to go. He invited me.
This is the same man, Ms. Juergens, who you fled from one county to another to escape. You went to his hotel room alone? Goodbye, Ms. Juergens. I'm totally disinterested in your lawsuit. You have no case. That's all. Goodbye.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Krill versus Sheets. Step forward, please.
19-year-old leasing agent Jennifer Krill is suing her ex-roommate, 21-year-old sales associate Christopher Sheets, for damage to their apartment and for his share of their security deposit.
All right, Ms. Krill, let me see if I understand what this rental situation was about. You were doing some part-time work in the leasing office of an apartment complex. In exchange for that, instead of giving you a salary, they gave you an apartment.
Correct.
And you decided that you would supplement your income by bringing in a roommate, Mr. Sheets,
Correct.
who I assume you knew from someplace,
Yes.
right?
Mutual
Correct.
friends.
And he would pay you a small amount of, like $100 a month.
Plus $50 a month for utilities.
And then he would pay the security deposit, because there was a security deposit of $300.
Yes.
And he moved in. He said, that sounds like a great idea to me. He gave them a check for the security deposit. And then, according to you, there was a misunderstanding. Mr. Sheets says that he had heard that you were bad-mouthing him, whatever. He didn't want to live there anymore. He moves out, and it is your claim that the $300 check for the security deposit bounced, that he did some damage to the apartment and some damage to your personal property.
Yes.
Mr. Sheets does not address the bounced check, and yet he acknowledges that he caused some damage to the apartment.
Correct.
And says to take it out of the security deposit.
Yeah.
So, let's cut to the chase. Where did you get this $300 check for?
At the time, my father and I had agreed that he would pay $300 for the security deposit.
And you wrote a check.
Correct.
What happened with that check?
My father and I have been disagreeing with each other lately, and then finally he said, I've had enough of it, and canceled the check.
So what you're telling me is your father stopped payment on the check.
The check had already been cashed, and I had been informed that by the leasing agent. My dad had reported it stolen or forged.
Because you...
Oh, just a second. Here we go. Now it gets more interesting, because this is the only interesting part so far of this case.
Yeah.
Your father reported the check stolen?
Correct.
And forged?
Correct.
So he wanted you arrested?
Well, he didn't want that, but he wanted to get it settled.
He didn't think that she forged the check.
Right.
You forged the check.
It wasn't, I didn't forge
No,
the check at the
he
time.
said that you forged the check.
I had turned in a check in his name, correct.
How did it end up that they no longer have $300 of the security deposit?
They should still have it. When I called the apartment complex manager, I told her that I wanted my security deposit back. She
Let me see. Can I see that, please?
This
She
is the
continued to
check
tell
that
me.
has stolen and forged on it, and he forged his father's signature. I actually talked to his dad.
Oh, I see that the bank marked it
Yes.
stolen, do not present again.
Correct. His father called the bank and canceled the check that he forged.
Correct. I'm not denying that.
So that the rental company did not cash the check.
We cashed it, and then we got it back because obviously we can't have that money
So they gave
anymore.
the money back to him?
Yes, they had to.
I
because
see.
he did not sign the check.
Okay.
Jennifer Krill says ex-roommate Christopher Sheets damaged their apartment and her personal belongings. Jennifer claims Christopher punched holes in the walls and ruined her mattress.
Mr. Sheets, you're no longer living there, so you don't have to pay the security deposit.
Correct.
Let's start with that. Don't say correct. I'm giving you a gift here, sir. But you do have to pay for the damage you did to the apartment.
Which I had explained to the leasing agent that I would take full responsibility for the
Fine.
damage that I had done.
Good. What did you do?
I had put a hole in the wall. I had also put a hole in the door in my room.
That sounds like a lot more than $300 to me.
It was $25 a hole is what I was told by her.
Do you have a bill for the damage that he did to
Yes,
the
I
apartment,
do.
please, Miss Krill?
And then I also have this.
Are you talking to your father now?
No, we have not spoken in over a month.
This is for the security
$120,
deposit.
Spring Lakes Apartments. That's what you owe for the holes. And then, from your... Oh, well, this, listen to me. You're going to pay your own security deposit.
Okay, I was just giving that to him.
That's fair, right? You're there, you pay the security deposit. He's going to pay for the damage you did. Now the place is damage-free. Any other damage you caused while you're there, you pay for.
Yes.
I'm a reasonable person. Okay. Now, Miss Krill, you claim that Mr. Sheets damaged some of your property.
Yes. When I got back to the apartment, about 2 in the morning, with my friend Katie here,
Had there been an argument?
Yes, actually, he called me on the phone, on my cell phone, and he's yelling and screaming at me.
What is he yelling?
You know, how could you talk crap about me, da-da-da.
She was saying that you were living sort of off of her?
Correct. She was taking full advantage of her having the apartment for free and using it against me.
Using it against you by
House.
saying you're living there, you weren't paying enough.
Right.
I get a rent-free apartment, but I am working 20 hours a week for it, and he pays me $150 a month
Yes.
and pays for food, and that's not a bargain.
So you were saying he got a bargain?
Yes.
And you took offense at that?
When she uses it against me is when I took
How did she use it against you?
ruining my reputation between friends.
By
talking-
saying what, Mr.
Just talking trash behind my back. It
you
happened several
explain-
occasions.
All right, now you're not living together anymore. Come on, fill me in. It's late. I have things to do.
Well, he called me yelling on my phone. I went back to my apartment with Katie, only to find him and his friends throwing things down the stairs. There's mattresses, bed frames, boxes everywhere in the road. One of the neighbors in my apartment
His
building.
stuff?
Yes, his stuff. They called the cops because, you know, it was a whole bunch of commotion. And I tried to go confront Chris. I'm like, you know, what's going on? What's happening? He doesn't even want to talk to me. He's like, I'm moving out. That's it. Da-da-da. I'm like, okay. Can't stop him.
Can you tell me, please, what property you allege that he damaged that belongs to you? He already has to pay $120.
He urinated on my mattress, which was about $400.
Well, how do you know it was him?
I have pictures.
That's not my question. How did you know it was him?
Well, he was moving out all the stuff with 2 of his friends, so, I mean, he had the problem with me.
Let me see.
These are all the pictures.
So what you're claiming is it was either Mr. Sheets or one of his friends?
Yes.
He took all the food in the refrigerator?
Yes, everything.
Get over it. What else? I got the mattress and the holes.
deposit, I mean, the food, but that wasn't
All
the
right.
charge. That's the main things.
Let's talk about the mattress, Mr. Sheets.
I did not do that, Your Honor. I did not see anybody do that. I was out going to get a truck when I came back.
Were things being thrown out of the apartment? Your things?
My items, yes.
Your items.
They were getting it out as fast as possible.
What time of the day or night was that happening,
It
Mr.
was
Sheets?
about 2:15 in the morning, I do
Well,
believe.
sir, so what you're telling me is at 2:15 in the morning in this apartment complex, you're throwing things down the stairs. There are other people that live there, is that right?
Correct.
That's not very mature, Mr. Sheets.
They were moving the things out while I was going to get a vehicle to take all the things to my new...
Well, you selected people who are not very mature to
I
do the
agree.
job, right?
Yes.
And if you select people that aren't very mature to move you out, and they are acting in an immature, rowdy fashion. Whose responsibility is that?
Mine.
Right on. And while you were out getting a truck to take this stuff out of there that they were throwing down the stairs, you know what else they were doing? They were peeing on her mattress.
See, we do not know that for sure.
No, listen to me, sir. You know why I know that for sure? Because I don't think she peed on her own mattress. Listen to me very carefully, sir. When you invite people to do a job and you don't supervise them and you do it in an irresponsible manner at 2 o'clock in the morning, you have to assume the responsibility for everything bad that happens. How much was the mattress?
About $400.
What do you mean about $400?
My father bought it for me about 2 years
Yeah,
ago.
will you find another one for $200? Anything else, Miss Krill?
Yes, ma'am. He also urinated on about $100 worth of my clothes that were laying below my bed.
Where are they?
They're not with me anymore. I threw them away.
$320. Get over it. That's all. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Pardon your excuse when you step out.
I'm just disappointed in him because he was my good friend and he was immature enough to do that to me, and it really hurt my feelings.
When she started ruining my reputation is when I had to get involved with it.
I'm just happy now that it actually happened because now I know what kind of person he is.
Well, I thought we were really good friends at the time. I just don't think we're made out to be roommates.
Other, but we're involved in an incident that can be described as a road rage incident. It is your claim that Mr. Azure caused this accident, which damaged your car. He says it was you who caused the accident. He said that you hit him in the rear. He is counterclaiming because he alleges that because of your conduct, he was forced to drop out of school, to have his education delayed, and he has a counterclaim. When did this incident happen, Miss Pincher?
February 3rd, 2005.
What time of the day or evening?
Approximately 10:30 in the morning.
And where were you going?
I was on my way to work.
Where do you work?
Sacred Heart Medical Building.
What kind of a car were you driving?
Honda Civic, 97.
What kind of car were you driving?
I was driving a 87 Toyota Corolla.
Where were you going?
I was going home. I was leaving school.
You had been in school that morning?
Yeah, I just got out at 10:20, and I was on my way home.
Okay, so Ms. Pinchuk, you tell me your version of what happened, please.
I was driving westbound on Mission.
Show me on your diagram, please.
This is
Which
me
color
here.
are you?
I'm B.
You're blue.
Yes. As I'm driving here, there's a bus that's moving. He pulls out from behind the bus and cuts me off right here. So I went into this turn lane to avoid the accident. I'm attempting to get back over, but he's not letting me. So at this point, after I honked my horn, he then let me in, which as I came here, and he was a bit further down here, this is where we hit because he was driving erratically and he slammed on his brakes. And to avoid hitting him again, I turned this way. And that's how the damage occurred on that side of the car.
Okay, so what you're saying is he cut you off.
Yes.
You had to get back into a driving lane.
Yes.
Ultimately, he let you back in the driving lane, but then slammed on his brakes, causing you to swerve.
Yes.
And that's how the back of his car and the front of your car were damaged.
Correct.
Okay, fine. I will hear you.
Okay, it started with the bus stop. There was actually another car in front of me. The first car proceeded to go around the bus, made it around. I looked, there was nobody behind me. I proceeded into this lane. I was all the way up here, and all of a sudden I heard a series of honking. She was in a hurry to get somewhere, and I just wasn't going fast enough for her. I looked into my rearview mirror. She's on the cell phone, driving, honking her horn, and then she proceeds to go on my driver's side to pass me. She must have thought that was another lane, because it widens out there for about 50 feet. And then it closes out real quick, and it goes right back into the two lanes. And she proceeded to pass me, Your Honor. She was all the way up as far as my back door on my driver's side. And as soon as I seen that, I started to slow down to let her proceed so she could proceed to pass. But she couldn't do it because there's oncoming traffic coming. So then she stopped to try to swing back around to get back behind me. And I feel that it was all her fault. She was on the cell phone. If she wasn't talking on that cell phone, maybe she could have used that other hand to flip the blinker and switch into the lane that was completely open.
Okay. Now, you had some damage to your car?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of damage did you have to your car?
Do you want to see pictures?
Mm-hmm.
I have two different estimates. The pictures are on the back of each page of the estimate.
What happened when the police arrived?
One officer talked to me, and I told him the story, and basically he wrote out the report, and that was it. He said that he attempted to contact my witness.
You have a
Nobody
police report?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it, please? You were cited for an improper lane usage.
I didn't commit it. It was found non-committed.
Did you have a hearing with regard to that?
Yes, with extenuating circumstances. My witness was there to attend as well.
What is your name, sir?
Sonny Shaver.
Stand up, please. Do you know the plaintiff?
I never met her till that day.
You were driving on the 3rd of February?
I was the oncoming traffic, Your Honor.
Show me where your car was.
I was here. This island stops and, like he said, becomes 2 double yellow lines that narrow down back to a 4-lane street. When I saw him, she was behind him. He went about halfway into this lane with half his car. Then all of a sudden he came back and she dived to the left to avoid him, and I thought, oh, going to get hit head on here. She slammed on the brakes then and cut it to the left. He cut it to the left across the double yellow line and stopped, and she hit him. So I drove around the block and said, I'll be a witness for you.
And you gave her your name?
Gave her my business card.
And you did come down with her to testify on her behalf?
Yes, ma'am.
It was very nice of you.
Well, I saw she rear-ended him, and that's almost always automatically her fault, and I felt it wasn't, so.
And you and Miss Pinchuk didn't know each other?
No, ma'am.
That's totally false. I had no reason to turn. I was a mile down my road. She was reckless driving. I was trying to avoid her.
Well, I'm looking at you, Mr. Azure, because Mr. Shaver doesn't know the plaintiff, right?
I can't tell you.
And when you stopped, did you see Mr. Shaver there that day?
No, he was not there.
Did you see him?
He was yelling at me, some foul things.
No.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
Nope. He told me, you can't frickin' stop in the middle of the road. And
So,
I was like,
just a
whatever.
second, Mr. Azure. Mr. Azure. Shh. Mr. Azure, you just said you didn't see him there that day.
Well,
how could you tell me that you didn't see him there that day, and then 2 seconds later tell me what he was yelling at you?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I do not believe that it was him. There was a guy there.
Listen to me. That was him. He
Was
didn't
it?
say, yeah, it was him.
No, there was a guy that didn't want to wait
Listen
for
to
the
me.
police officer.
Listen to me. It was him.
And later today,
He didn't steal the car keys. He didn't grab them out of her pocket. She was drunk. He was drunk. They're just lucky they're not dead.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bobby Pinchuk says fellow motorist Charles Azure owes for an accident caused by his reckless driving. Charles claims the accident was Bobby's fault.
All right. Now let's get to your counterclaim, Mr. Azure. I'll hear you.
There was a blonde-haired gentleman. I do not believe that it was him. There was a guy there
Listen to me. That was him. He
Was
didn't
it?
say, yeah, it was him.
No, there was a guy
Listen-
that didn't want to wait
listen
for
to
the
me.
police officers.
Listen to me.
And he took off.
Listen to me. It was him. Let's just get to your counterclaim, sir.
Okay. After this accident, I just had surgery on my knee, and I'm in criminal justice at the Spokane Community College. I have no reason to jeopardize my career. My knee went into the dashboard, and it swelled up my knee. I got the doctor report, and I took it to my instructors at school, and they put me on hold. They ended up giving me a Z grade.
What does that have to do with this accident?
Because my knee swollen, because I got injured in there, and I couldn't pursue my criminal justice. They put me on hold. They said I had to get doctors. I can't get released from the doctors. I've had 4 surgeries on my knee, Your Honor, and...
Did you have any surgeries on your knee after this incident, sir?
No, I had it August 29th, 04.
The last one was
The last
in
one
August.
was
The last one was in
10/29/04.
August. Okay. Well,
Just
maybe
like
you're in
4
the-
months prior to this
Maybe you're in
accident.
the wrong, you're pursuing the wrong career, sir.
I'm not going as a police officer. We're opening a bail bonds company, and we're going to pursue that.
You're going to be a bail bondsman.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. All right, Mr. Azure. Are you going back to school for
They
criminal
let me
justice?
back in. I just had my appointment with the dean on May 5th, and they said I can go back in
I'm very
in
glad.
September.
Okay. Who is this person?
This is my wife, Joni.
What does she have to do with this case?
She's the one that took me to the hospital, saw my knee, how it swelled. I had to be in a neck brace. I had to wear my splint again. I had to use crutches.
Just my own information, sir. Did you speak to an attorney about these injuries?
Yes, I did.
And did the attorney take your case against
No,
Ms.
he
Pinchuk?
didn't. Because he said I had a pre-existing knee injury.
That plus a couple of other things, Mr. Azure. One of the things that would be death to your case is this gentleman right over here. Because he's known as an independent witness. he is absolutely correct when he says that when someone rear-ends someone else in their car, unless there are really extenuating circumstances, it's always your fault. Those are the facts. You understand that, Mr. Asher?
Yes, her insurance.
Unless, Mr. Asher, you have an independent witness who says that you were driving recklessly. That's what he says. And he's got no axe to grind. He took a couple of days off from work. He actually came back to a scene of an accident where most people would just keep going.
I never seen him, Your Honor.
Well, maybe you just heard him. And there is no question in my mind. Listen to me, I'm speaking.
Okay.
There's no question in my mind that he was there. There's no question in my mind that he chose to come back to the scene of the accident because he was concerned that Miss Pinchuk would be blamed for the accident because it was a rear-end hit. He took the time after she contacted him to go down and testify before the administrative law judge at the hearing regarding the ticket. The ticket was dismissed, as is your counterclaim, sir. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of damage to the car, $1,400. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She found that I was at fault, but I just don't feel that I was.
It was his fault. He knows it was his fault, and that's what he gets for trying to lie.
She was totally out of control, calling me every name in the book.
At the point where he realized that I was cussing him out and I was honking my horn, I need to get back over, that's when he got mad.
On her cell phone, driving right behind me, she was so close to my bumper, I could see the whites of her eyes.
He said, sure, you can stay with me for a while until you get relocated. He did. And you claimed that he agreed to pay you rent, $350 a month. In addition, you claimed that he agreed to sell you a used car that he had. You paid him for the car, and one day you came home and you find the car that you had paid for is gone, along with Mr. Strickland and his month's rent. Mr. Strickland says, A, you must be crazy, because he never sold you his car, and B, he never said that he was going to pay you rent. He didn't even have a room. He stayed on the sofa. Mr. Strickland, when did you move into Miss Baca's apartment?
It might have been July, middle of July.
July 14th.
And how did that come about, sir?
I called her and asked her if I could come stay there, and she agreed.
Did she ask you why?
Yes.
What did you tell her?
That I was having problems where I was staying at that time.
That was with another girl?
Yes.
When you came over, did you come over with any property?
Yes.
What did you come over with?
Everything I owned.
Where did you put it?
In the garage, mostly.
And you have how many automobiles?
At the moment?
Then, in July of 2006.
One.
What kind of car was it?
97 Ford Thunderbird.
What do you have now?
Nothing at the moment.
What happened to the Thunderbird?
It's a motorcycle.
When?
Last Sunday.
And what happened to the motorcycle?
It is being put together.
Between July and last Sunday, was the 1997 Ford the only vehicle that you had?
Yes.
Do you work, sir? Why do you have to question that? Do you work, Bird?
Yeah, I work.
Well, you know,
Do you work?
Yes.
Do you work? Look how fast.
Well, you know why? Because I thought about the question you asked me right before that, if that was the only vehicle I had, because I also acquired another motorcycle before that.
When?
Beginning of August sometime.
Were you driving around that other motorcycle?
No.
Where was it?
In the garage.
Whose garage?
It is in Rebecca's garage.
When you left in August, did you take that motorcycle with you?
No, it was already in the shop being worked on.
Worked on for?
To get it running. It didn't run when I bought it.
Between the second or third week in August, after you had been with Miss Baca for 3 or 4 weeks, was the motorcycle in the shop?
It was in the shop, yes.
And you were planning on using it?
Eventually. Yeah.
Is not an answer.
Eventually, I don't have a motorcycle license, so eventually, yes, I planned on using it.
Now we'll get to my next question. Are you working?
Yes.
That was great.
Where do you work?
I work for Cooper Tires.
How close is that to where you're living now with your girlfriend?
25 miles.
How do you get there?
I drive. I drive.
What do you drive?
Right now I'm borrowing a car from my brother.
What kind of car are you borrowing from your brother?
A Chevy something. I don't even know what it is. Yeah. It's a red car.
And you're borrowing that car until?
Until I can get a motorcycle license.
All right, Miss Baca. Now I have identified this personality. Now I'm going to try to identify your personality.
Okay.
You let him move in on July 14th. First mistake.
Yes.
The prior involvement that you had with him did not end well.
No.
It ended with a protective order.
Yes.
So despite the fact that it didn't end well, you allowed him to move in. And he slept on the
He
don't look there.
Slept
Look
in my
here.
bed.
What?
He slept in my bed. All of his stuff was in my room, except for some stuff that was in the garage.
Why did you let him move back in with you?
I loved him. He said he quit drinking. He changed. We weren't like in a committed relationship, and it was supposed to be just friends that he was moving in, and he would sleep on the couch. But then with him being there for a night or two, he ended up sleeping in my bed. Not smart, I know.
Tell me about the car.
He found out that I had money in stocks.
How did he find out that you had money?
Because I was telling him that I was going to be buying Sea-Doos at the end of the summer.
CDs?
Sea-Doos.
Sea-Doos?
Yeah, for water.
Well, CDs would have been smart. Sea-Doos are stupid.
Well, that's what he said. They're stupid. You should buy my motorcycle for me. And I was like, no. So he ended up saying that he would sell me his car for the money, which was $2,000, and he would buy the motorcycle that he was talking about previously that he got in August. He got that with my money. And I ended up selling him the car after he begged continuously.
You ended up buying the car, not selling him the car.
Oh, yeah, buying the car. And I didn't want to. I already have a car. I didn't have a purpose for it. But then after looking to see how much the car was actually worth and how much he was willing to sell it to me for, I thought it was a good deal. So I ended up giving him the money for it. And then my witness, Dawn.
Show me that you gave him the money.
The only stuff I have right here is from my UBS Financial, which is the stock company that I withdrew the money.
When did you withdraw the money?
The money was withdrawn and deposited into my bank account on the 27th.
Of what?
Of July. And then I have a bank statement saying that it was deposited and it was taken out the next day.
Taken?
Taken out the next day.
How was it?
In cash.
How much was taken out?
$1,650.
That's a peculiar figure.
Well, because the agreement with the rent was that he would pay $350 a month after staying there for 2 weeks, and then with no problems, he would start paying $350 a month. So at that point, when I gave him the money, it had been about 2 weeks. So the $350 was with the $1,650 to make a total of $2,000.
$1,000. I gotcha. When you lived together previously, were you splitting expenses?
He was paying, I think it was like $200 a month.
When you were living together previously?
Yes.
Was that in the same apartment?
Yes.
Now, what is this witness going to tell me?
Yes, ma'am.
Who are you first?
My name is Don Fry.
Fry?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I was actually the one going to be purchasing the car off of her because he was buying the motorcycle for $2,000. So she's like, all right, I'll buy it, and then I'll buy it from her. And so that was the agreement.
Why didn't you buy it directly from him?
Because I didn't have the $2,000 to bring up. I was going to do monthly payments.
To her?
To her.
For how much?
$3,200. So it's $160 a month.
Okay.
I mean, this guy's a convicted felon for stealing from his own job. He got fired for stealing money. Why wouldn't he come on here and lie to steal money from me?
I think that's not relevant in the case.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Where did you think you were coming today, Mr. Strickland, to a tea dance?
I just didn't think that I needed very much evidence.
Mr. Strickland, are you serious?
Judy. Rebecca Baca claims ex-boyfriend Micah Strickland owes for rent and for stealing her car. Micah says he never agreed to pay rent and the car belongs to him.
Mr. Strickland, you remember the date that you left?
I don't remember the exact date.
Do you remember when he left?
August 19th.
You were there for 1 month. You moved in on the 14th, you left on the 19th. Did you pay any rent?
No.
Why not?
There was no agreement to pay rent.
You had paid rent previously.
No, I had not.
Previously, when you lived together.
I had not paid rent then either.
Well, what are you, a sponge? What are you, a sponge?
No.
Well, you are if you don't pay rent where you live. Everybody pays rent. They pay a mortgage, they pay rent, they pay maintenance, they pay something. You mean except you?
Apparently.
You purchased the other motorcycle on what date in August?
I don't know the exact date.
Do you remember the exact date?
He paid for it on the 28th when I gave him the money.
Do you remember who he purchased it from?
It was a guy named Rick at his work. I went to the bank. I got the money out. I went to his work on his lunch. He got the money out from his bank account, went back. He gave it to the guy, Rick. And then the next day, on Saturday, I borrowed my ex-husband's truck, and we picked the motorcycle up from Rick's house.
I paid $50 for that motorcycle.
I'm sure.
Just a second. You have a receipt?
No, I don't, but it's written on the pink slip that I haven't got around to going down to the DMV with yet.
Well, where is it?
It's at home.
Well, where did you think you were coming today, Mr. Strickland, to a tea dance?
I just didn't think that I needed very much
what is your
evidence.
Serious with me? That you didn't think you need any evidence in court?
Well, I just thought it was a pretty cut and dry case, being that it's my car. If I'd actually done something wrong, like I'd be in trouble for stealing. So like, I thought this was a pretty odd case. I'm surprised I'm in court over it.
Well, but Mr. Strickland, you are in court over it, so
Yes.
if you are in court over it, it would seem to me that an intelligent person would bring any evidence that they had to support their position.
Okay.
Not just stand there and say, look at me. What do you think Ms. Baca did with the money that she took out of her bank on the 27th of July?
I don't keep track of her finances. I have no idea what she might have done with it.
And would it be a fair statement that she did accompany you to Rick's house to pick up the motorcycle?
Yes, she did come with me to pick up the motorcycle.
Can I see your bank statement, please?
Yes, I also have an insurance statement saying that I added on the car that I never bought to my insurance policy.
I'd like to see it, please.
She put that on the insurance because she wanted to drive the car, and she didn't feel comfortable driving it without insurance.
Why would she want to drive that car when she had her own car?
She drove it a few times.
Oh, you're full of baloney, Mr. Strickland. You're full of baloney. So. Okay, Ms. Baca, this is the only problem that you have. What you are suing him for is the Blue Book value of the car, or what you had agreed to sell the car to Mr. Fry. That you cannot recoup from Mr. Strickland.
Okay.
But I believe you, and that's my job to make a judgment as far as who I believe and who I don't. I believe you. I believe your story. It makes sense. It is supported by the documents that I have here, especially the insurance, which indicates that the car was added to your insurance policy, and anybody would be absolutely crazy to add a car to their insurance policy and to pay insurance for a car when they already have a car that they want to drive once or twice. I mean, that would be ridiculous. So I believe you, but you are not entitled to the book value of the car. You are entitled to what you paid for it. And I believe that Mr. Strickland did agree to pay you $350 in rent. You took out the $2,000 from your bank, and the reason you took off the $350 was that you were reducing the amount by the amount of rent that he owed you. So I'm entering a judgment on your behalf in the amount of $2,000. That's it. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He didn't even acknowledge the fact that he did accept the money.
She's just trying to drag me back into court again.
He threatened to kill me the first time that he moved out.
All parties in the matter of Oric versus Galvin. Step forward, please.
18-year-old Justin Oric is suing his former friend, 19-year-old Drew Galvin, for knocking over his Ninja motorcycle. Drew says the bike was parked in the wrong spot.
Mr. Oric, you were at a party, and the defendant was also at a party, and it is your claim that he damaged your motorcycle, which you had driven to the party. Mr. Galvin says that the motorcycle was in fact damaged, but it was your fault because you parked it in the wrong place. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Tell me what happened, Mr. Oric.
I got off work about 9 o'clock. I called my friends, and they all said they were over at some girl's house, so I got directions over there. And I pulled up over there.
On your motorcycle?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of motorcycle is it?
It's a 1997 ZX7R Ninja 750.
Sounds very impressive. How much did you pay for it, sir?
About $3,500.
When did you purchase it?
In August of '05.
Okay.
I parked it, and he was sitting on the back of his car, and he was pretty intoxicated, and he let me know that. And
How did he let you know that?
Well, I shook his hand. He's like, "How's it going?" And he's like, I could smell it. And he's like, "I'm pretty drunk," And I was just like, all right, whatever, that's fine. And I walked into the house because that's where pretty much everyone was. And I was sitting in there talking, and everybody heard this crash. I got up and door. I noticed my motorcycle laying on the ground. He was over there trying to pick it up. Helmet was rolling around in a big puddle of water, and trying to figure out what was going on. He said he was sitting on it, and it fell over on one side, and that he went to pick it up, and it fell over the kickstand onto the other side. And that's the crash that we heard. And I just told him I wanted the money and everything. He was intoxicated, so he got all mad and started trying to fight. He's like, "I'll fight you over it right now."
What were you going to fight him over, sir?
I never said that, but that's beside the point.
Why were you so drunk?
Actually,
How old are you?
I'm 19 years old. That's
Okay.
what's so silly about
You're
this whole
19,
thing.
just a second.
Okay.
Who do you think is going to be in control of this courtroom, Mr. Galvin, you or me?
You.
Right, so first stand up and take your hands off the table. Very good. You're 19, you can stand on your own 2 feet. That would be perfect. So why would a 19-year-old boy get so drunk? Is there nothing else to do in Arkansas?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, pretty much. There's nothing there. There's cows and, like, people with nothing to do.
So they drink?
The majority of them, yes.
You drink?
On occasions, yes.
Well, but you were drinking on May 6th.
Yeah, I had a little.
Did you go to school? Do you work? What do you do to
Yes,
occupy
ma'am.
yourself?
I
What-
work.
You work for whom?
Razorback Car Wash in Bryant for right now, but
I didn't understand a word you said.
Razorback Car Wash in Bryant.
Razorback Car Wash. Okay, for right now.
Yes, ma'am.
How long?
Actually, whenever I get back, I'm going to be in the heat and air business. I've already got a job.
Great. And you're going to stay in Benton?
Me and my fiance are trying to figure that out now.
You're 19 and you have a fiance.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't have any children, do you?
No, ma'am.
None expected.
No, ma'am. We were pregnant but had a miscarriage.
19 is too young to have any children, sir. You know, you have to find something else to do other than drink and make babies.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, go to the library. Do they have a library in Benton?
Yes, ma'am. There actually is. I've been there quite a few times.
Have you? How
Yes,
many
ma'am.
times?
I'd say whenever I was in school, about almost every other weekend.
You mean when you stopped going to school, you stopped going to the library?
No, ma'am. I started working a lot.
Well, but you still have time. You had time to get drunk, sir. I would suggest you spend your time in the library. You had time to make a baby, right? You have time to go to the library. There are other things that you can do
Yes, ma'am.
other than drinking and procreating at age 19. You can expand your mind, expand your horizons,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Galvin. Now, you don't really want to tell me that it was the bike's fault that it fell down because it was parked in the wrong place, do you?
Well,
you
sort
really
of.
want to tell me that, Mr. Galvin? You look like such a nice young man.
I have
Misguided, perhaps, but a nice young man.
I have pictures of the spot where my car was and his bike right behind it. Like it is a one-person parking spot. But I was on my way around the car whenever I tripped over it.
Mr. Orick says that when he got to the party, you were sitting outside on your car.
No, actually, I was inside talking to Danielle.
No, you weren't, sir, because you were too drunk to know what in the world you were doing.
Well, I mean, if I was that drunk, how come the cops didn't brought me? And in the police report, anywhere it
Why
doesn't
would
say.
they do that? You weren't driving.
I told him not to.
Shh. You weren't driving. He didn't want to get you into any trouble. That's not my question. You know how much you were drinking. Well, at least at the beginning you knew how much you were drinking. Did you end up staying at the house?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, I did. My belt was stolen.
Just a second. You ended up staying at the house.
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you sleep?
In the bed with the girl that I was seeing at the time.
This was in May?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it the same girl that you're affianced to now?
No, ma'am. It's not.
So between May of 2006 and now, we have had a new fiancé and an almost baby. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
Listen, you paid $3,500 for the bike, according to you, maybe, more than a year ago.
Yes, ma'am.
You want $4,200 to fix it. That's not going to happen. Do you understand?
Can I explain why?
Yeah,
sold
sure.
it? The guy sold it to me for that because he was scared of it. He said he was going to get put in jail or killed on it. It had $1 worth of work in it. It's got a crate motor. It's been lowered, you know, custom paint, custom exhaust. It's pretty much a show bike. So it's worth more than $3,500 is what I'm trying to say.
Can I see the estimate to fix it, please?
Yes, ma'am. There's 2 parts estimates and 2 paint estimates in there. There's the damage.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Rorick?
I work for AutoZone, but I'm a full-time college student as well.
Where'd you get the money to buy this?
I worked hard for it. Like I had a dirt bike that I sold for it, and it's hard work.
Oh, it's a beauty.
Thanks.
I mean, I wouldn't get on one of these things. I like to have a whole bunch of steel around me.
Yeah.
There are a lot of crazies on the road.
Yeah, there is.
You know, so I like to be in a Sherman tank when I'm on the road. But I know that a lot of people like these things, including my husband, who lusts after one.
Really?
He'll continue to lust after one. All right. Mr. Galvin, where are you going to be next weekend?
At my house?
No. Where are you going to be next weekend?
The
library.
The library, yes, ma'am.
Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,200. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Like I said, I tripped over it.
I'm pretty sure it's just an accident.
We're still friends as far as I know. No.
And he assaulted you because he believed that you were messing around with his wife. You want your bills paid, your medical bills, your dental bill. Mr. Podani said he was sort of defending himself because you went after him first. Anna, let's see. You weren't arrested for this assault, sir?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, Mr. McDonald, how do you and the defendant's wife know each other?
I've worked with her for 6 years. She also is a friend.
Tell me when this assault took place.
The assault took place September 16, 2006. It took place at my place of work. Me and Joan went to get something to eat. We returned...
What time?
At 5:30.
After the place closed?
After work, yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I do hair for a living.
So after work, the place closed down and you and the defendant's wife went out for dinner. Is this the first time you did that?
No, I have worked with Joan for 6 years.
So you've gone out for dinner before?
She's been a manager at a business I owned before. So yes, we've gone out to eat before.
Nothing else, just dinner?
Just dinner.
Ever anything else other than just dinner?
No, just dinner.
Went out for dinner, that was about 5:30. What time did you get back?
6:30.
And you, I assume, came back, you went in one car?
Yes, went in my truck.
You were coming back to pick up her car?
Correct.
That's the scene. Tell me what happened.
We pulled up in the parking lot where I work. As I pulled up, I saw that Mike was in the parking lot also.
Had you met him before?
I've known Mike for most of that 6 years also, to the point of actually playing cards and stuff together. Pulled up, I saw Mike starting to walk towards my truck. When he got up next to my truck, I rolled down my window. Mike punched me through my truck window. I then ended up trying to get out of the vehicle. I was unable to get out of the vehicle because he kept shutting the vehicle. So I went over the passenger seat, got out of the vehicle, asked him what was up. His response was that I was messing around with his wife. We told him that we had gone out to eat. I actually had the food container from going out to eat in my vehicle. I gave that to him. Shortly after, the police responded to the scene, asked what...
Who called the police?
I think a witness in the parking lot called the police. They responded fairly fast. They separated all three parties.
Everybody shouting at everybody else?
No, it wasn't that. They just separated. There was actually 3 squads that showed up on the scene. They separated Joan, Mike,
Where
and
was
myself.
Joan?
Joan was with me during this time. She was in the passenger seat, so she also had to go out. She was there when the police showed up. The police asked me if I had been assaulted. I said I had. They asked me what I wanted to do about it, if they wanted to charge Mike. I had said no, but I did tell them, at the time I thought I was going to lose a tooth that was already a fake tooth, so I knew it was going to cost me money. So I told him if I lose my tooth, I'd like to have him pay for it. And I also asked the police to let him know not to come around me anymore from that point on. Hindsight, I wish I would have pressed charges at that time. At the time that that happened, I did not, because I knew that that would potentially cause some trouble for their home. Plus, I know that Mike had some potential trouble in the past, and I did not know if that was going to create a bigger problem than what they already had. But since that time, the stitches came out to be the amount that I'm suing for, the $21.29.
How many stitches
I
did
ended
you
up
have to
with
have?
8 stitches in the front and 2 in my mouth.
Where?
Right there. I have a scar from it.
Well, it all started back when I asked my wife if they've been messing around, and she said, no, they haven't, and then she tells me that she's not in love with me anymore. She told me that night that she's working until 6:30, so we were supposed to go out. We had an engagement to go out on a buddy's yacht to go boating. I called her up. She didn't answer the phone. I called her cell phone. She didn't answer that either. I thought maybe she's just cleaning up, so I thought I'd swing out there and help her clean up.
What time was she due home, sir?
6:30.
So you swung out to see if you could help her clean up?
Right. And the place is all locked up, closed up, and her car's sitting out in the parking lot.
What time did you get there?
It must have been about 5:45.
So you waited?
So I waited, and I called her on the phone. Of course, she didn't answer. Next thing you know, they pull up together in his truck. I walked up to angry at what's been going on because I've been accusing her, actually these two, of screwing around for a while now. And I walked up to his truck, and I thought he was going to, since I was mad and angry, I thought he was going to kick the door at me, so I grabbed it, and when he rolled down the window, I punched him. So I'm, defending my family, trying to protect it. And
No, you're not.
I think I was. And now they're together.
Well, but you're not, sir. You're not allowed to do that. Even if they were doing more than just having dinner after work. You're not allowed to put your hands on somebody else.
I know I'm not supposed to hit them, and
So
I know
why
it
did you
was
do
wrong,
it?
but
How many other people have you hit when you got angry?
none.
You've been in trouble with the law before?
Yes.
For what?
Fraud.
Nothing other than fraud?
No.
Is it a long time ago or recently?
A long time ago.
Okay, what kind of work do you do, Mr. Padana?
I do home inspections.
You have children?
Yes, I have 4.
How long are you married?
10 years.
How old are your children?
I have a 9-year-old with Joan, and I have 2 20-year-olds and a 17-year-old.
With your former wife?
Right.
How long you divorced from your former wife?
15 years.
Was it your idea or her idea?
Both.
So you fell out of love with each other.
Right.
You fell out of love with each other.
Right. And then I raised those 3 kids.
Good. I mean, that's nice. But you fell out of love with each other. Because
Right.
that happens. You understood that that happens.
Right.
You didn't beat her up, did you? Because she fell out of love with
No.
you. She didn't beat you up because you fell out of love with her.
No.
Right?
Never hit a woman.
But it happens.
It happens.
It happens.
It does. It happens.
Happens. She doesn't say that you have the right to hit him.
I'm not proud of hitting him, but...
Fine, so then you have to take care of his bills. How much were your bills?
The medical bills were $21, $29. I had to have the truck cleaned out. That was $175. The clothes I was wearing was $125, and I missed a day's work following the incident, which was $500.
I was told he didn't miss any work.
Whether he missed any work or not, sir, he's not even suing you for pain and suffering, which you should. Absolutely should. You have no right to put your hands on somebody else. He's suing you for $29.29, which is nothing. If he would have sued you for $5,000, I would have given it to him. What?
Since then, I've had to get a restraining order against him because he's actually contacted my ex-wife to find out where I live.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You moved on once, you survived.
Move on again.
How old are you?
41.
41. You're a baby. I got a son 42 years old who's never been married once. You're looking for wife number 3. Tell me your secret.
And later today...
Do you have a gambling problem?
No.
You have a drug problem?
No.
Your aunt says it was about $150,000 that you blew.
People. Judge Judy. Mac McDonald says his friend's estranged husband, Mike Padani, assaulted him in the parking lot at his work.
Mr. McDonald, your complaint alleges that he owes you $29.29. There's no question you're going to get that. I was just gratuitously throwing in that you're entitled to pain and suffering as well. Mr. Padani is lucky that he didn't spend 6 months in jail for assault. I mean, it's over.
It's over.
It's over.
Time to move on.
Time to move on.
Yep.
You moved on once. You survived.
Move on again.
You're going to move on again. And believe me, how old are you?
41.
41. You're a baby. I got a son 42 years old who's never been married once. You're looking for wife number 3. Tell me your secret. Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,929. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Sir, wait here. Sir, I'll have to back up to you, right?
It did feel good. But then, of course, he got out of the truck and hit me.
No, I didn't hit him back.
I apologized to him right after I did hit him.
He's always been very possessive.
Well, they've been kind of messing around for a while now.
The defendant does have an anger issue.
When he was saying that I spoke to his wife, I actually ran into her at a bar, and she was telling me that's why they got divorced, because of those two.
He and his first wife had issues, so I think he just kind of carried it over into...
All parties in the matter of Ernest versus Kennedy, step forward, please.
Karen Ernest is suing her nephew, 26-year-old Nicholas Kennedy, for a loan to get his Mustang fixed.
Mr. Kennedy, this is your aunt?
Yes.
That's your mother's sister?
Yes.
Parents are dead?
Yes.
Your aunt tells me that you inherited a lot of money.
I inherited a trust fund from my grandmother when she passed away.
You still have the money?
My aunt is in control of my trust fund, yes.
How old are you?
26.
How much money do you get from the trust fund?
There was a total of $50,000.
So how much income do you get from that every year?
I actually do not know, Judge. My aunt is in full control of it. She's the trustee of the trust fund until I'm 35.
Well, there has to be income that's paid out periodically. How much income is paid out to him?
Judge Judy, due to financial issues with Nicholas over the past few years, before the passing of his grandmother, I sat down with her and her attorney, and we came up with an idea that the only way that Nicholas will ever have any money in the future was to set the age limit of 35 for him to get the money.
And the income is reinvested?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, this is what the case is about. I just have to get a little bit of a picture of the family. You don't mind, Miss Ernest, do you?
No, Judge.
Because one gets the sense from reading these papers that you adored him, and he disappointed you. You made him, according to you, a loan to have his car fixed, and he promised he would pay you back.
Yes.
It was a relatively small loan.
Very small.
So I don't think that it's the money necessarily that's the issue.
You're absolutely right. It's the principle.
Right. And he hasn't paid you back.
Not a dime.
When did you take the money from your aunt to fix the car?
It was in the end of July, beginning of August of 2006.
What was wrong with your car?
The rotors, the heat shield, and the calipers were completely shot, as well as the bearings. It basically sounded like it was a bag of tin cans in the back of my car.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Kennedy?
I'm a blackjack dealer at a casino in central New York.
Do you have a gambling problem?
No.
You have a drug problem?
No.
How long have you been a blackjack dealer?
2 years.
You get paid reasonable money?
Roughly $30,000 a year.
You support anyone other than yourself?
I have my daughter to support, yes.
How old is she?
2 years old.
Does she live with you?
No.
How much do you send her for support?
3.
Current?
Yes.
Do they take it out of your pay?
Yes.
That's why you come. Good. So how come you were in such dire straits that you needed money from your aunt?
At the time, my wife and I were talking about a separation, and I spoke with my aunt. My aunt has a great deal of dislike for my wife, and she was very happy at the sound of my wife and I separating. At the time, I was...
Does she dislike her because of things that you've told her about your wife?
No.
She just decided that you didn't like her on her own?
Yeah, so I believe something happened way back in the beginning in 2002 when we first got together, and things just kind of escalated from there.
Whose fault was it, without going into the story?
I really don't know. I don't even know all the details myself.
Go ahead. So?
I was in some financial trouble, and...
Why?
I was only working part-time at that point, and I needed some assistance with getting the separation going, and when I spoke to my aunt about the separation, she told me she'd help me in any other way she could possibly help me. And I also
Has she done that before?
Yes, she has.
So she's been supportive of you since you were born?
Correct. And I mentioned to her that I was having car problems, but I didn't have the money to fix my car at that time. She then offered to help me get my car fixed. Not once did she tell me that this was a loan or that I'd have to pay her back, just that she would help me get my car fixed so that I could have it back on the road. It was my only vehicle. My wife had her own vehicle at the time as well.
Now, when did she ask you for the money back, Mr. Kennedy?
Since then, I've only had 1 or 2 conversations with her in 6 months, and about a couple of weeks ago, out of the blue, I got a letter.
When for the first time did she ask you for the money back?
She has not asked me for the money back.
Is that right, Miss Ernest?
Incorrect.
Go ahead.
I made numerous telephone calls to Nicholas, his only cell phone that he had, and he never returned any calls whatsoever.
Tell me about the conversation that you had with him in either July or August.
Initially, I was contacted by Nicholas August 1st, 2006. He says that he has problems with his car. It's the only vehicle he has to get to work, and he can't afford to get it fixed. I told him I want nothing to do with trying to help him anymore because...
Why? Tell me why.
Just so many financial issues in the past. Him and his wife have a bankruptcy already on them, 6 months into the marriage. They just can't rub 2 nickels together. They can't save a dime, and I didn't believe he was going to have any way to pay me back. So it's a lost cause. He begged and pleaded with me that he really needs to have his car fixed. That's the only way he can get to work. During that conversation, he also stated that they were in the process of selling their home and separating, that they were closing the end of August, and he promised, out of the closing of the house, that he would pay me back.
Did you sell your house?
Yes, I did.
When?
It was at the end of August.
How much equity did you have in your house?
We sold just the house, the furniture. We took all the furniture with us, but the house itself sold for $32,000.
That doesn't give me the answer. How much equity did you have in the house? Did you have a mortgage?
No.
So you had $32,000?
Correct.
Where's the money?
We used the money to pay back my wife's car loan, and then the rest of the money we invested into a new apartment for us. Getting new furniture, getting ourselves reset up.
What'd you need new furniture for?
The furniture we had was completely destroyed.
What do you mean it was destroyed? Was there a hurricane?
No, my daughter.
Oh, you mean so it was destroyed by a 2-year-old?
Yeah.
It was destroyed by a 2-year-old. Mr. Kennedy, you sound ridiculous, sir. You sound ridiculous. Does your wife work?
No.
Are you back together again?
No.
When did that change?
Yesterday? No, we started working on things, and right now it's just kind of a rocky relationship. Right now it's just for my daughter.
So when you bought the new furniture, who moved into this apartment with the new furniture?
We moved in together, and I resided there for 5 days before I moved out.
Something had to happen, Mr. Kennedy. See.
I began seeing one of my coworkers.
Oh, so you sold the house. Whose house was it? Yours, or was it the family house?
It was the money from my inheritance from my mother's passing.
Fine. Because I gather from your aunt, which I sort of believe that you can't rub 2 nickels together. So you got a little inheritance. You bought a house. Let me follow this. With the money that you got, you bought a house. You sold the house. You took the $32,000. You paid off your wife's car.
Correct.
How much was that?
$14,000.
Then you bought new furniture because the 2-year-old destroyed the furniture.
Correct.
And you bought new furniture, put it in an apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Brand new apartment. You spent the rest of the money, $20,000, $18,000, and you bought new furniture, moved into an apartment that you lived in for 5 days because you started fooling around with a coworker.
Correct.
How much was the car payment?
$649.61. Judge Judy, may I get the correct calculations of his inheritance totals.
Yeah, your aunt says that you got a lot more money than that, Mr. Kennedy. She said it was more like about $150,000 that you blew.
She's correct. That was the original inheritance from my mother.
How long ago?
That was back in 2004.
Mr. Kennedy, you have to grow up, sir. Your aunt is finished with you. So your wife is driving around in a brand new car. You are no longer together. Is that so far correct? Are you now with the co-worker?
Yes.
Ah, perfect.
I just want to cry, Judge Judy.
Listen,
I love you.
some grow up, some don't grow up. You have to know the difference between things you can change and things that you can't. That doesn't mean that you don't love him. That means that if he needs a kidney, you may have to give it to him, but if he needs any money, let him get another job. That's easy, you know? I mean, you may have to give him an organ one day because you love him.
I did tell him no multiple times in the conversation on the phone.
Yeah, he can't, you know. I mean, he can't keep tapping into other people to clean up the mess after him. He's 26 years old. In the scheme of things, in a man's life anyway, that's still very young, you know. If they're going to grow up at all, it usually takes about 50 years. And then it's a downhill slide. But he's got a way to go.
His grandma got smart in holding the trust till he's 35 years old.
Because he'll go through 50,000 like water through a goose. Right? Good.
Yes.
Okay, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $649.61. That's all. Thank you.
The family needs to just still stick together no matter what happens. But then again, he shouldn't keep using me as an ATM.
My relationship with my aunt has just gone so far south, and I'd like to repair it at some point.
His ex was simply, obviously, a gold digger.
We just went through it way too fast. We didn't know how to save it. We didn't know how to use it right.
Money's gone, so's she. Isn't that funny?
I just hope we can work on our relationship and
Brooke Beeson claims former roommate Kimberly May broke their lease when she moved out of their apartment.
How old are you?
21.
Who is this?
My mother.
Thank you. Miss Beeson, you and the defendant leased an apartment together. Were you both in college at the time?
She dropped out of college. I was still attending, yes.
And according to your complaint, she moved out.
Yes.
On the lease. She moved out on the lease, and in addition to moving out on the lease, she, according to you, defamed you by telling certain things to your landlord about what was going on in the apartment. You want to be compensated for both.
Absolutely.
Half of the rent and the defamatory remarks that she allegedly made to the landlord.
Yes.
When did you sign the lease?
May 2006.
And you had known each other for a long time, according to what I read in the complaint.
Mm-hmm.
So this wasn't new. And it was just the two of you in the apartment?
Yes.
When did you move out?
June 29th, 2006.
Okay. Now you're going to tell me why you moved out.
Due to bad circumstances.
No, well, that's...
Drug use, and she clearly disrespected me after asking her plenty of times, her friends in and out of my stuff, my bathroom. I had to put a lock on my door because I didn't feel comfortable leaving my own house, and that's why I left.
Let me try to sort it out a little bit. You felt uncomfortable because her friends were coming to the house, and you felt uncomfortable with them.
Yes.
Why?
Because they were up all hours of the night using drugs.
Did you ever see anybody using drugs?
Yes.
Who?
Brooke and her friends.
What kind of drugs?
Marijuana, and that's all I saw.
Did you ever smoke marijuana?
Yes.
So they were up, they were partying, they were smoking marijuana.
That I know of. That
you know of. A substance that you also indulged in.
Not at the apartment.
Wherever. It's somebody's apartment. You didn't do it in the street, right?
Right.
Well, you didn't do it at school, right?
Right.
So you had to do it in somebody's apartment, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you had to put a lock on the door.
Yes.
Your bedroom door.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me when you put a lock on the bedroom door.
In May.
Tell me why.
Because I didn't feel my belongings were safe. She had people in and out of our apartment.
Miss May, did you have any rules that you set up to this apartment with Miss Beeson?
No.
Well, then you have a problem, madam. Your problem is you have to be a big girl.
I know that now.
And if you sign a lease on an apartment, you can't just pick up your marbles and go home. So far, you haven't given me one valid reason why you would be entitled to break a lease. You're alleging that you saw her and her friend smoking marijuana. Whether you did in the apartment or not, I don't know, but you certainly did it in somebody else's apartment, so you weren't frightened of drug use because you did it yourself.
Not at the time. Before I have.
Whatever. I didn't say at the time, before or after. So you weren't certainly frightened of what you saw there because it was something you had indulged in yourself. I mean, I can understand you not being happy if there's lots of partying going on. Did she complain to you about that? Is not an answer. Did she complain to you about people being in the apartment? Or...
Yes.
So what did you say to her?
They're mutual friends of ours, so at certain times, the same friends that would be there with me would be there when I would come home late at night. They would be over with her.
Well, why didn't you try to work it out? Sit down and work out a scenario where at 1 o'clock in the morning everybody goes home, whether it's your friends or her friends. Why didn't you try to work it out?
Because it wasn't an ongoing thing. It wasn't day to day. It wasn't day in, day out. So it was never a continual issue.
Well, but she made it an issue. When did she tell you she was moving out?
Never told me. Moved
That's a
out.
lie.
Vacated the premises without any warning. Said she needed to talk to me the morning before. I came home from work. I said, you know what, I have school all day. I'll be home at 2 o'clock. I have to be at work at 5. If you want to talk when I get home from school, that's totally fine. If you want to meet me, I'll be here from 2 to 5 before I go to work. Came home, didn't say a word to me. I went to work, came home, and all of her things were gone.
What efforts did you make to find another roommate to take over your lease?
I told her 3 weeks prior to my moving out.
What efforts
I didn't
did you
make any?
Well, you have to. You can't just walk out on a lease. Now, what proof do you have that she made statements to the landlord about you?
I have a document that she had given to the apartment complex, if you want to look at this.
That she signed?
That she has signed, yes, absolutely.
I'd like to see it. Who prepared this letter for you?
Me and my mom read it.
Well, you can't just say, I accept no responsibility for rent or expenses relating to the apartment after June 29th, 2006. You have a contract with them, and you have a contract with her. And you made absolutely no effort to find another roommate. You have to be a big girl. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Well, why did you help her write this letter? Stand up when you talk.
Because she needed to write it at the time.
What do you mean she needed to write it at the time? I don't understand you. Did you know your daughter smoked marijuana?
She had before.
She had before?
Yes,
She
I did
probably
know.
had during, and I guarantee you she does afterwards, maybe not in the apartment, but it's not something that frightens her because she does it herself. And that's the only drug use that she ever says she saw in the apartment. So why would she sort of ascribe any untoward behavior to the plaintiff? It's outrageous. She's a baby, and she shouldn't be coddled by you. You should have told her not to rent the apartment in the first place. You have a roommate now?
No, I do not.
Did you have a roommate?
Yes, I did for 1 month.
So you did have a roommate?
Yes.
When did the roommate move in?
In October. It was a temporary thing. He was moving in and moving out, and I needed the rent, so I told him he could move in for the 1 month that he was transferring places from where he was at to going back to his parents' house. It was an agreement we had from the start. He was the only person I could find, and I needed the money at the time, so any money's better than no money at this point.
Did you put any ads in the paper?
I have not, but I had a roommate lined up that bailed on me last minute, so it's just a bunch of...
Who's paying?
Mother does. I'm a full-time student.
When is the lease up?
May of 2007.
Well, you better see if you can find another roommate.
Absolutely, I'm in
What's
the
the
process.
rent?
$1,400. It's actually $1,391.
Okay, so it's $700 each. Is that right?
Not including utilities.
She moved out in May. Did you pay May's rent?
Yes.
Did you pay June's rent?
Yes.
You didn't pay July?
No.
Didn't pay August?
No.
Didn't pay September?
No, but she wrote me a letter saying that she was having a roommate move in September 1st, 2006, and I responded to her
Let me see.
letter.
Give her both of them.
Okay. Well, you wrote this letter to her telling her exactly what she owed and that your daughter fortunately had found a roommate that will be moving in September 1st. You wrote the letter.
However, can I?
Yes.
Okay. Brooke had a girl from work lined up that had given us a $200 deposit, which we, on the itemization, showed that she had given us. The girl ended up not moving in. So we deducted $200, the deposit she had given, and we did get a deposit from her to secure us, but it didn't remove Kim from the lease. Anyways, she did not get another roommate until Chad moved in for 1 month. She has contacted everybody. She let the apartment know that she would move out if they could find somebody. A tenant had come to me regarding something, and I had tried to work something out where she could even take over the apartment so Brooke could move back home.
I got you. You have 3 months' rent so far. We have October that this fellow moved in, and you have November and December. That's 5 months' rent. It's $3,500. So far, that's what you owe her. And although I'm not happy with the letter that you sent, the letter does not indicate that the plaintiff is the one that was using drugs in the apartment. It says that there was drug use in the apartment. It doesn't describe that conduct particularly to her. Could have been other people, it could have been guests, etc. So I'm not awarding you any money for defamation. Right now, the entire lawsuit has not come to fruition yet. It's not become fixed yet because I am hoping that she will find a roommate.
So am I. I'm paying the rent.
Right, I got it. You can't do that. And your daughter can't do that. She's got a responsibility. Why should this mother be responsible for the rent? Let your daughter move in, she'll move out. You want to do that? Stand up. Move over. The apartment's lease goes until next May. Right now, Miss Beeson's mother has been footing the bills for your daughter's share of the rent. She's perfectly prepared for her daughter to come home and live at home. You want to assume the responsibility from January until May for your daughter? She'll move out and your daughter can move in. That way she can be safe. She can have only her own friends. How about it?
No, I would not.
Why?
Why?
Why is my question. Why is it okay for this lady to pay all the rent when your daughter defaulted and not for you to pay all the rent when your daughter defaulted?
Well, first of all, that lady doesn't have to pay anything. I don't have to pay anything.
Sure
They're
you
two
do.
adults.
No, just a second. You made an excuse for your daughter and you helped her craft a letter to get out of a lease. Your daughter had no right to move out.
May I say something? What if I find her a roommate?
No question. That's not my question. My question is, you can't stick her with the rent. What, instead of her having to pay you any money since she's already out that money, you move in. You find a roommate. You don't have to find her a roommate. Find yourself a roommate that you're happy with. How about it?
No.
Yeah,
May I say something?
Right. Right. She's a big baby. And don't encourage her. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,500. That's all.
All rise, please. Quiet in the courtroom.
Charges number 132 on the calendar in the matter of Trevino versus Reeder. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Miss Trevino. Yes, ma'am. Mr. Reeder.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Reeder Sr. Step up. Ms. Trevino, according to your complaint, you and Mr. Reeder Sr. were living together, correct?
No.
He wasn't living with you?
He stayed with me for a month.
Stayed with you. I paid the rent.
Just a second. He stayed with you for a month. This is his son.
Yes, ma'am.
He also stayed with you.
Yes, ma'am.
And while they were staying with you, you let Junior use your Sears credit card.
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
Well, we were good friends, and he was just starting a job, and there was stuff that he needed, like tool chests and stuff, and he promised to pay me back when he started working and started getting an income, and I trusted him. He's a nice kid. But now that Senior and I are no longer seeing each other, he doesn't want to pay me.
Why didn't you ask your father for money?
Because I like Sears tools.
Because what?
I like the tools that Sears put out.
So?
She had a Sears charge card.
Go ahead, sir. Maybe you can answer for him.
Actually, what happened, Your Honor, when we got together, and we were there a lot longer than any 2 months.
Well, first it was a month, now you say it was longer than 2 months.
It was a lot longer. The relationship went on for about a year and a half. Mrs. Trevino's credit card was not being able to be used at the time, and I paid it up, brought it current. The Sears credit card, I paid up the Sears credit card where it could be used. I paid up her Visa credit card, which they never let her use it. Okay, at that time, my son could have asked me for the money, but I didn't even know they were going out and buying the tools. She took him to Sears and started on her own while we were still together. And as we were living together for quite some time, over a month, things went on between them. He could have gotten the money from me if he'd have asked me for it.
Well, that's what I want to know. Why didn't you ask your father to borrow the money for your tools rather than asking Miss Trevino?
Because she had a charge card for there.
But he had the money.
I never came up to ask him for that, Your Honor.
All right, so now you used the credit card. How much did you charge on her credit card?
About $1,100, Your Honor, or so.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much did you pay back?
$1,108.45.
You have proof of that for me?
Your Honor, what I have is my check register
And what does it say in it?
that I have made payments. I have 9 checks totaling the amount of $508.45.
Is that made directly to Sears?
Sears and Mrs. Trevino.
Let me see it. Do you deny that he gave you these checks, madam? He's got them in his book.
He gave me checks for the rent when he was living there.
Some of this, how much rent?
He was paying $200 a month.
There are charges here for $32.45, $38, $75, $63.
For what?
I don't know. It says to Sandra Trevino. Let me see your Sears bill, please. Was she charging you rent?
I paid her rent on my own will, and I never wrote her a check for rent. I just given her cash.
What do you mean you gave it of your own will, sir?
I was told I didn't have to pay rent, but I paid her anyway.
That's not true.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I was the one paying the rent at the time.
That's not true.
Out of my own money. That's why he didn't have to pay rent.
He said he was giving her cash.
He did give her money, but like I said, it was because he wanted to.
So you say, sir, that you repaid her $508 by check, and this is for the tools that you bought on the Sears card. Is that right?
Yes.
But you also say you paid her cash.
Yes.
Twice.
Yes.
How are you going to prove that to me?
What? Ma'am, I have no... we were friends at the time. I didn't think I needed a receipt for that.
Well, but you paid most of the money by check. Why would you pay $600 of it in cash?
Well, because I would go cash my check, and I'd just give her the cash instead of the check.
Why did you give her some checks? All of them were under $100. And then what you opted to give her in cash, you gave her in two $300 payments. That doesn't sound logical to me, sir.
Well, at the time, I had the cash on me. And the only reason why I didn't get a receipt was because I was living with her. She was seeing my father.
Did he ever give you cash?
No, ma'am.
He did not?
No, ma'am.
Okay, return this to him. Yes.
He did give her cash, Your Honor.
No.
And I've given her a lot of cash even since then.
No, I believe...
A couple of times I didn't ask for receipts. Then at the very last, she started writing me receipts. I didn't bring them with me, but she did write me some receipts.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
She stole her car out of a shopping center before Christmas, and I got blamed for the car.
This is getting fascinating.
And later today...
I did see a cat, and I saw them, you know, running after the cat, and I did see a cat.
I'm not sure I believe that you saw a cat.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sandra Trevino says 26-year-old tow truck operator Dustin Reeder used her credit card and didn't repay her. Dustin says he paid her back in cash.
Miss Trevino, why are you suing him now?
Because they were going through some bad times, and he didn't have any money. He went to jail for a couple months. The kids were trying to run the business, and they weren't making ends meet. And I was actually helping them keep the business going while he was. And
what kind of business?
Towing business.
Automobile towing?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you incarcerated for a period of time, sir?
Yes, I was.
For how long?
I was actually in jail for 45 days.
For what?
Because she had stole her car, and I got blamed for it.
You're a lying sack.
That's right. She stole her car out of a shopping center before Christmas, and I got blamed for the car, and I didn't involve her in it. I took the heat because my lawyer advised me to take the heat, so I took it.
Explain. No, this is getting fascinating. This is much.
Hey, it's the truth. You can check it out with the courts.
Well, you can't check it out with the courts. If you pled guilty, sir, and served 45 days, then you pled guilty to something. Explain to me, she stole a car.
That's right.
Out of a parking lot.
That's right.
How did you get involved with it?
Well, when I first met Mrs. Trevino,
He tried selling it to cop.
She didn't have a car. She had problems with her car. I gave her the money to go out and put a down payment on a new car. When we started squabbling, she couldn't make the payments. So then she decided, it was insured, she decided that she would take it and collect the insurance off of it, which she did.
You're a pathological liar.
What do you, just a second.
The car,
Pathological.
you didn't collect insurance?
Mr. Trevino, go ahead.
The car,
So she reported the car stolen.
that's right.
Ah, it's coming together. She reported the car stolen, and then the plan was for her to go out and sell the car once she got the insurance money for it. Is that right? Am I right?
You're close.
Well, tell me where I'm off. Tell me where I'm off.
Anyway, as it turned out, I got caught with the car
How did you get caught with the car?
because somebody had did some work on it, brought it back,
You mean did some work on it to sort of
changed the VIN
change
numbers.
the VIN numbers?
Changed the VIN numbers. Brought it back. I got caught with it. Okay? And like I said, at that time, I never brought it up. I never one time said anything about it to the law or anything. I just went to jail for it.
Well, you knew that there
And
was you
believe me,
knew the
believe me, I wish
scenario,
I
so you
hadn't.
weren't blameless, sir, right?
I was partly to blame because I got caught with it.
What do you do for a living, sir?
I drive a tow truck.
Your father's tow truck?
Yes.
Did you graduate from high school?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. These tools that you bought from Sears, what did you need them for?
I like to work on cars.
Sounds to me, with the exception of this young man, these people all deserve each other. Well, I'm going to give you credit, sir, for the following. I believe that you gave her checks towards the Sears bill of $1,100 in the amount of $500, leaving a total of $600 left. Now, I want you to look in my eyes and tell me whether you gave her an additional $600 in cash.
Yes, ma'am, I did. In 2 installments.
Hmm?
I have given her $600 in cash for the tool bill.
For the tools.
Yes, on the
You gave
Sears
her
charge.
extra money for rent
Yes, I was paying her $200 a month for rent.
in addition to the tools. Is that right?
Yes, every month I stayed there, I gave her $200 a month.
Ms. Trevino, I believe him. This young man, I believe. I don't know if I believe either of you two people, but I believe him that he paid you. This lawsuit is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Pathological liars. They're known liars. That's all they do is lie.
And now the next case.
Parties on Brown versus Silberg. Step forward.
32-year-old retail manager Paul Brown is suing his building manager, Greg Silberg, 52, because his dog fell off the roof when a cat frightened it.
Mr. Silberg, are you the owner of this building in question?
No,
or are
I'm
you
the owner of the management company.
Okay. And this is a 3-story building.
Correct.
You, sir, live in that building?
Yes.
And how long have you lived there?
I lived there approximately about 9 months.
And you have a dog?
Yes.
That dog?
I have 2 dogs.
But that's the dog in question?
Correct.
You were going into your building?
Actually, I was going to walk my dog on the, and I was going to visit a friend on the 3rd floor. And
In the building?
In the building.
And your dog did not have a leash on?
They both had leashes on them. I took them in the elevator, walked up to the 3rd floor. I went to knock on my friend's door on the 3rd floor, which is right around the corner from the sun deck. And I had both dogs in one hand, on my left hand. And they saw a cat. This is late at night, about 10:30 at night. They saw a cat. They got loose. As I was running up the stairs, the dogs already were up on the patio or the sun deck, and that one fell. He was down below, and that was it. I mean...
Just a second. Did you see the cat, sir?
Yes,
Look at me.
Yes.
Did you see a cat?
Yes, I did. I saw a cat.
Late at night.
That's how they darted out of my hand.
Late at night, you're ringing a bell.
Knocking on the door, correct.
Knocking at a door, right? Like this.
Correct.
Where was the cat?
The cat was to the left, going up to the sun deck.
I'm not sure I believe that you saw a cat. That's first. I do believe that your dog ran up to the sun deck. Fell off. Right?
Right.
And you're suing him for $5,000.
Correct.
Tell me why.
Well,
Because that's the dog. The dog is here.
Right. First of all, I have pictures before and after. what Sendek looked like before and after, and as well as the medical bills, which ranged into approximately about $1,400. And for my dog's a championship dog, and I was actually going to breed him. I have papers on him, and as well as I have the notice from the city of West Hollywood saying that that sun deck was not properly permitted, and if they had the proper railing on that sun deck, my dog would have never fell. And that's why I'm suing him for $5,000.
I'll see all of his pictures.
And this is the medical bill. And I also have a letter from the doctor stating the condition of the dog.
Who found the dog?
Phil found the dog. He was downstairs waiting for me.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Can I say something?
Do you feel as if you must, sir?
You've kind of said it all, to be honest.
Then why don't you just be quiet?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Paul Brown is suing building manager Greg Silberg because his dog fell off the roof. Mr. Silberg says the dog should have been on a leash.
Describe the dog when you found him.
Well, I was standing outside, and I heard the loud noise, him hitting the concrete. When I found him, he was unconscious, tongue hanging out of his mouth. He was bleeding from his mouth. I went and grabbed a towel, picked him up. He was stiff. I didn't even know if he was alive anymore. And then I found a pulse. I took him into the apartment, found a pulse, called the veterinary hospital, and we drove him immediately to the hospital. He was unconscious for a couple days.
When you found the dog that night, and I want you to think very carefully, sir, did the dog have a leash?
Yes.
How do you know that?
Because I found the dog.
A couple of things. I don't understand how this dog got away from you if you were holding both dogs in your hand with the leash.
I had them both on one hand as I was knocking on the door of the third floor. And I did see a cat, and I saw them, running after the cat, and I did see a cat. And he went off, the other dog, because I called them both, I called both their names.
So what you're telling me is you had both dogs
in my left hand, correct.
In one hand.
Right.
And you couldn't control holding on to the leashes of both dogs.
No, because actually when they saw the cat...
Well, the cat's not his fault.
Okay, but the balcony's his fault.
Just a second. How?
He broke the law. The law, I mean, that balcony was not properly permitted. If that balcony was properly permitted, that dog would have never fell.
This is not a place that you didn't know about. You knew about this place. Now, I'm not saying he's not in some way responsible for not having it properly gated off. I looked at the gate that he put up there. Your dog can get through that gate.
Yeah, but if
Just a second. If that's a proper gate that he put up afterwards, that little skinny dog can get through that gate and could have gotten through that gate that night. So could a cat.
Not running that fast.
What do you mean not running?
Not running. A dog cannot get through that gate. Those bars are approximately 4 inches apart. Now, if a dog's running at full speed, the dog cannot go through that gate.
You mean he'd have to stop and wiggle through?
He would have to stop.
Just a second.
He would realize that, no.
He would realize. The dog would realize.
He would realize that he would not be able to get through that gate going that fast. That's why the dog fell, because he was going so fast he didn't see the drop. That's why the dog fell. Now, if that gate was up there, the dog would have stopped.
This gate, sir, is not designed to keep out dogs and cats. It's designed to protect people. Dog and cat owners are responsible for taking care of their own pets.
Correct.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Just because there is an accident doesn't mean somebody has to pay you. That's not what the courts are about, sir. This is a people protector. And the fact that you suggest that a dog at full run couldn't go through there, that may be. Certainly, a cat can wiggle through here. Certainly, a small dog can get through here. The design
but not
of it...
at full speed.
I don't care whether it's full speed.
If the dog's chasing a cat...
You're never going to get through to him. Never going to get through to him, sir. Not every injury results in an award of money. You are responsible for keeping control of your dog.
And he's responsible for keeping the railing. I mean,
Yes,
he
sir,
put a
and I
balcony
will
up.
tell you something else. If somebody chased you up on the roof that evening and you fell off the 3rd floor because there was no adequate railing, you could sue him for a lot more than $5,000 because
If I
he is
lived.
responsible, if you lived, and if you could breed, because that's what you're complaining about. But because there was no bar or gate there, that's not the reason your dog fell. Your dog fell because you dropped the leash. And your dog went...
But I didn't drop the leash, Your Honor. The dogs got away from me. I didn't drop the leash.
Mr. Brown. Sir.
Can I say something?
Do you feel as if you must, sir?
You've kind of said it all, to be honest.
Then why don't you just be quiet?
Okay.
This lawsuit is dismissed.
Parties are excused. Step out, please.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Well, obviously, I'm delighted, and I just feel that Mr. Brown didn't take responsibility for his own actions. First of all, the dog was there illegally. Wasn't
No, it
allowed
was not
on his
illegally.
lease.
You don't even know what your own manager does there. Your manager knew the dogs are there. You're saying illegally
on top
now
of that,
after 9, I've been there 9 months.
He
if
doesn't want
there
to take
illegally after 9
responsibility.
months,
All he
then
wants to do is everybody's responsible. The dog fell on its head, so
do you feel you're not responsible for not having a proper sun deck up there?
Absolutely.
You're not responsible?
No, sir.
He broke the law. He should pay for it.
As a convicted felon.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 372 on the calendar in the matter of Early versus Yates. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Early, your complaint alleges that you were hired by the defendants to babysit for their child. Beautiful baby.
That's me.
Look at that. Look at him.
Okay.
And that you did babysit for him for a week, and you were supposed to be paid $250. You were not paid.
Correct.
They have what they consider a very legitimate reason for not paying you. Tell me how you were hired by the defendants. How did they find you?
I called an ad that was listed in the Union Tribune, the paper, and we set up an interview, and I went to their house, and they met me and talked with me for a while and hired me that night, and I started work, I believe it was 2 days after that night.
Had you been working before?
I've worked before, but no, I was not working at the time.
Had you ever done childcare before?
Yes. I've never been paid for it, but my mother is a foster mom for newborn babies.
But you
so
had
I grew up.
not done childcare before?
No.
Okay. And the agreed salary was $250 a week?
No, it was $800 a month, but when they called to let me go, Maxie explained that $250 was what they figured. And then I reminded them about $7 that I spent of my own money on grocery food. I went grocery shopping.
But you did, in fact, stay with the baby for a week?
I stayed for a week and 2 days.
Okay, and when were you let go?
I was let go a week later, after I had worked the whole following Monday through Friday. The following Saturday, I got a phone call and I was let go.
From who made the phone call?
Maxie.
Can you tell me what that conversation was?
She called to let me go and said that she had her reasons, that it was very difficult for her to leave the baby alone while she was working, and that she needed to have surgery done, and that she wasn't going to be going back to work. And I was kind of upset by it because I, was happy working there, and I really enjoyed working for them and for the little boy. I mean, he's adorable. And I asked, does it have anything to do with me? And I was told absolutely not, and that I should be a housekeeper, was the quote that she said, because she was very happy with the housework I did. I did a lot of housework. She asked me if I would like the check mailed to me or if I'd like to come pick it up, and I said I'd like to come pick it up.
and they said that they had some errands to do and stuff and to call them later that day.
The check was not forthcoming, so I mean, I've read your statement, so I know that they, according to you, they kept promising that the check was in the mail. The check was never in the mail.
Never.
Ultimately, they told you they were not going to pay you.
In the end, 3 weeks later.
3 weeks later, what did they tell you?
After phone calls of being promised my money was coming, I said, can I come over and pick up a check? And they said, well, we need to talk. She explained to me that she didn't think I did the job I was supposed to do, and that I was sleeping in their house, that I was taking showers in their house. All this is very untrue, and that they had a videotape of me in their house while I was working. And so my boyfriend took the phone away because I started getting upset and started to cry. And he took the phone and said, what seems to be the problem? He got hung up on by Maxie, and he called back, immediately called back, and then he talked with her. And Maxie proceeded to tell my boyfriend, Stefan, that I abused their baby, that, and then again that I was sleeping and showering. And
did you sleep in the house?
No.
Did you have a shower in the house?
No.
Okay. Now, you want to tell, so you were not paid?
No.
You want to tell me why?
I'm glad. Sure, her accounts are fairly accurate. She did come to work, as she stated. We had an interview with both my husband, myself, and I. Actually, Your Honor, if I could submit some information for evidence, I'd appreciate
What is it?
that. We had a background check run on Miss Early. We've got 12 pages worth of, she's got quite a criminal history. We asked her whether or not she had a criminal background. She stated to us that she did not. One of the requirements of employment was that she be fingerprinted, and we let her...
One of your requirements?
Correct,
Yes.
and that was to be done within the first 3 days of employment, and she never submitted the fingerprints. She did, however, and I have a copy of this, she submitted to us her driver's license, which is an alias name that she is using. She's got 12 pages worth of
I have no other
criminal
names.
background. She's a habitual felon. Much of her background is...
you didn't get that information until when?
Actually, the Monday that she began, that she was alone with the child, we had gotten a report back from the investigators saying that the local check had cleared and that they didn't find anything on her, so we felt confident. And the Friday that we let her go, we got the out-of-state check, which was, we've got 12 pages worth of her history.
I'll look at that in a moment.
Okay.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I've had no other aliases. I've had no other names.
Not according to this, madam.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Leslie Early says Maxie and Tim Yates owe her for babysitting. The Yates claim that a secret videotape shows Leslie endangering their child.
You indicate in your answer that you had, in fact, set up a babysitting surveillance video.
Correct, yes.
And when did you start this video process?
We started that the Monday that she began by herself with the baby.
And did you view the video that night?
We did, yes.
Was there anything untoward on the video that night?
Well, on that evening, there were some things that we were slightly concerned about, but we thought that we could speak with her and without really letting her know, because why give it away and get a true effect of what she was doing.
So there was nothing on the video on Monday
not
that
so much
suggested
on
to you
Monday.
that you should immediately terminate her?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Now, on Tuesday, did you view the video?
On Tuesday, my husband had come home early.
The answer is either yes or no.
Yes, yes, in person and on the video.
Was there anything on the video on Tuesday that suggested that you had to terminate her employment on Tuesday?
We thought that we could speak with her and work through it.
Miss Early.
In retrospect,
Why don't you
I'm
have a
sorry.
seat with the baby, sir?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. In retrospect, I think I should have let her go on Tuesday.
Mr. Yates? Yes. He's absolutely adorable. Right. I cannot order him to be quiet. So if he wants to play, if he wants to, you can take him outside, sir. Miss Yates, you sound like a very intelligent person. If there was anything on that video that suggested to you that your child was in danger, you would not have gone to work on Tuesday or Wednesday. That's, I mean, if you went to work on Wednesday.
There were concerns.
Concerns is different. Because this is a question of paying her for the week, even though you terminated her. So I'm trying to find the point in time. It's not Monday, and it wasn't Tuesday.
It was Wednesday.
All right. What happened on Wednesday?
On Wednesday, she had left the baby on the couch. He was at the point of sitting up and rolling over. She had left the room for a good 20 minutes. At that time, the baby was sitting up, rolling over, and going back and forth on the edge of the couch. My husband and I were watching this tape at the end of the day and just waiting for him to fall. Fortunately, he did not.
So this was on Wednesday?
That was on Wednesday.
Did you go to work on Thursday?
I did, ma'am. I was trying to maintain my job, yes.
Miss Yates?
I did.
You went to work on Thursday.
Correct.
And you left Miss Early with the baby on Thursday.
I had asked neighbors to stop in on her.
And nobody
Miss,
did.
shh. Miss Yates, you went to work on Thursday?
I went to work on Thursday and Friday.
And you went to work on Friday. So, despite the fact that you saw things that were of concern to you on the tape, you still left your child alone with her. 5 days.
I regret having done it, but yes, I did.
And
So-
Your Honor, every day I was very concerned and asked how everything was, you know.
Miss Early.
And I was
Miss Early,
always
she's
told
entitled to
everything
hire
was
you,
fine.
and she's
Sure.
entitled to fire you.
Sure, I understand all that.
Good. So, that doesn't mean you don't have to pay her. Can I see the background check, please?
Please. And there's
Now,
a copy of her driver's license that she submitted. She's got a fake Social Security number that she submitted to us. The driver's license is with her fake AKA.
Who are you? You keep wanting to stand up. Who are you?
I am presently, she watches my daughter. She's watched my daughter for some time now. I don't believe when they said that they asked her and she said nothing, because I asked her and she told me that she had done some things when she was younger.
What do you mean she told you she did some things when she was younger? What does that mean?
She did some things when she was younger, living with her parents, that, you know, she went to court for. And
did you check on it?
No, I did not. I talked to her mother.
What do you mean you didn't check on it after she told you that?
I spoke to her mother in Florida.
I told her everything, so, you know, I wasn't holding back.
And how old is the child that she babysits for you?
My daughter's 5.
Okay. What is your name?
Valerie.
Valerie what?
McElroy.
Miss McElroy, all I can tell you is this. If I had a young child that I was leaving alone with someone, and if that person said to me, I do in fact have a criminal history.
That has nothing to do with children. Yes.
I would certainly do more than call her mother to find out what it was.
Well, I
That would
explained
just-
to her everything, that it was.
You're good at
and I
explaining.
was 18 years old, and it was, I don't regret what happened to me then. It was a wonderful learning experience.
Miss Early, you're not following what I'm saying. You're being defensive. What I'm saying to this parent of a young child is more prudent behavior, madam, would suggest to me that instead of calling her mother to find out what it was all about, you do your own background check to make sure that you have all the information. If you're leaving your most treasured possession with a stranger, then you do an independent background check. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right, so what you did was not enough. I mean, these things, I'm looking at the profile, and I see it is really true that that the most recent arrest that you have was back in 1991, correct? Now,
December
that's a
5th,
long time ago.
1990 was the only time I was arrested. December 5th, 1990, yes. And I've had no other aliases. I've had no other names. I've never had a married name. I've had that name all my life. And I have been arrested December 5th, 1990.
Not according to this, madam.
I know for a fact I'll never forget the day.
Well, there are arrests here, I will tell you, on December 7th, 1990, November 30th, 1990, November 13th, 1990.
I was only arrested on December 5th, maybe December 7th. I mean, that's, I thought I could, all these
February
years
19th
I've been...
of 91, forged check, past forged check.
I was still incarcerated in February for the same thing from December 5th, 1990.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I got in trouble for drugs when I was 18.
And what else?
Prostitution, you are a liar.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Professional babysitter Leslie Early wants to be paid for her services. Maxie and Tim Yates refuse to pay because they say she lied about her criminal past.
Have you ever seen this personal profile?
No.
Well, I would suggest you take a look at it, because if it is incorrect, I suggest that what you do is you make sure that they fix it. But these things have,
and
have a nice,
alias.
listen to me, these things have a NICE number. They are clearly referred to you, and if somebody is making a mistake on all of these arrests, I suggest that you deal with it. But this is the information that they got. It certainly shows more than one arrest.
Okay.
Take a look at it.
Please.
Now.
Your Honor, may I say something more about that?
Yes.
There's also, more recently, in 1986, there were also several
86 or 96?
I'm sorry, 96. Here in California, she had several traffic violations and had a suspended driver's license. One of our agreements was that she would drive the baby to doctor appointments. That was one of the agreements that we had as part of her being a nanny for our child. And obviously she couldn't, she committed to something that she couldn't
Miss Yates,
do.
you have a tape with you, I see.
That's correct.
What is that tape going to show me?
Well, what we had done is...
Just tell me what it's going to show me.
This particular tape, each day we had videotaped. The most dramatic tape was not on the final day that we fired her. I had informed her in the morning that the...
What? You're not answering my question. What is that
this
tape?
This shows her leaving the baby on the couch and saying, "Don't fall off, don't fall off," and she leaves the room. And it also shows her throwing the infant into the air.
Throwing the infant into the air in an anger or playfully?
Playfully, however, he's medically fragile. She knew that going into it. We explained to him he had major surgery 2.5 months before she took over his care.
But nothing that you're going to show me there indicates abusive behavior.
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
Because that had been, we had copied it over. And this just shows the vantage point that we had. It also had sound so that we could hear things that were going on through the house. There were some days, 2 days in particular, she let that baby cry, or a child cry, for over 3 hours at one time. This is not feeding him.
What day? This
okay,
Yates,
this
what
was
day?
on Wednesday and on Thursday. Thursday in particular was the worst day. She had asked to do our house.
Listen to me.
Okay.
Miss Yates, every time a parent has to leave a young child, especially an infant, with a stranger, there are always trepidations because you're never sure about what's going to happen. You are absolutely entitled to hire and fire the caregiver of your choice, whether you have reason or whether you don't have reason. In this case, clearly, according to you, you had just cause to let her go. For the following reasons. You had tape and you weren't satisfied with her performance. And then subsequently, you received a background check which suggested to you that she was less than forthcoming with regard to what her background was. And even if you hadn't gotten this background check, according to you, you would have let her go. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
However, Mrs. Yates, you did allow her to remain in your employ, and you went to work Tuesday after you saw the tape, Wednesday after you saw the tape, Thursday after you saw the tape, and Friday after you saw the tape. You went to work, and I assume you don't work for nothing, so you got paid, right? And you said to me, I didn't want to risk my job. Right?
That's absolutely correct.
You have to pay her for the week she worked for you.
You know what,
if you had let her go on Monday night after you viewed the tape, she would have had absolutely no cause to complain, but the fact that you permitted her to stay with your baby for that entire week, despite the fact that you and your husband were coming home every night, right, sir? And watching the tape. It is unreasonable for you now to withhold her salary. Judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $250. Did she, in fact, buy food for you and lay out $7?
Yes, but we had agreed at $700 a month. She had miscalculated. She said $250 a week. It was actually $175 a week.
She called me to tell me that the amount was $250 on the phone. I didn't come up with that amount.
I'm awarding you $257.
That's fine.
Great.
I want to say something to you. Look at me. When you have a young child, you're supposed to be very cautious. And I'm not suggesting that Miss Early is not a good caretaker for children. I am not making that judgment here today. All I'm saying today in today's case is these people utilized her services for a week and they have to pay her. What I'm saying to you is you may be perfectly satisfied with her as a caregiver for your 5-year-old. You have to be more prudent in the process that you use for selecting a person. You're a parent, and your primary responsibility has to be to your child. So whether it's this lady or some other lady in the future who's going to take care of your baby, do your own background check. You don't call her mother to find out if she's a nice person. I assume that you have somebody else taking care of your baby now?
My husband and I are taking care of him. We alternate working.
Sometimes that's the only way to do it.
It's the only way we know for sure.
And let me tell you, that baby is absolutely delicious.
Thank you.
So it may be worthwhile.
Thank
Good
you,
luck.
Your Honor.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
May I get a copy of this?
Yeah, we'll get you a copy.
Okay.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I think that they've done this before, in my opinion, and I just think that they were pulling whatever they could to try to not pay somebody. And
I think you're the one that's done things before, Leslie.
okay, Maxie, well, you're the loser today.
No, I'm not a loser.
Sure
We're the
she
winners
is.
because I feel that this person has been exposed on national TV. I'm frightened for you that she's taking care of your child.
I had a problem with drugs when I was 18 years old, and I got in trouble for drugs when I was 18.
And what else?
Prostitution. You are
You
a
got
liar.
12 pages worth
You
there,
are
Leslie.
a liar.
12 pages
How are you
of
gonna-
forgery.
You're a liar.
Felonies.
Prostitution.
On Tuesday,
They love
the
this.
second day of recording. Why are
Leslie,
we walking the
Leslie.
house brown naked?
Versus Bryant. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir.
You folks were engaged according to these papers and moved into a house together. The engagement didn't ripen into a marriage, and you broke up.
Correct.
You say she owes you some money.
She agreed at the time that we broke up to pay the phone bill, which was approximately 80% hers. While she did not work the 3 months while we were engaged and living together, she made numerous calls, and the phone bill equaled almost $500. And she made probably 80% of the bill, and she agreed at that time to pay for that. No, for the phone bill, and then half of the utilities, half of the rent. She only gave me $940 the entire time after we moved in.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Just a minute.
And she gave me that $940, but the bills were considerably more than that, obviously. I mean, what she should have paid, all told, is $1,371.19. That's if we split the bills in half. But I said, once you just pay the phone bill, she agreed to that. She was going to pay it after her first check from her new job. She had just gotten a job right at the time we split up, and she was to pay me at the 1st of August when she got paid, and she did not. Then she put it on, and she said, I'll pay you the next month. The next month came. She did not. In the meantime, I had to borrow money from my parents in order to pay the phone bill, which was $500, so I could get another phone later. And at that time, she didn't pay in September. She promised me by the end of the month. I called near the end of the month. She told me she had no intention of paying me. She didn't feel she owed me the money, and that I would just have to sue her.
Okay.
And
my first question to you, Mr. Bledsoe, is this. You say that during the course of the 3 months that you lived together, she should have paid you $1,371.
if we were to have half.
If you were to split the
it half.
expenses.
Mm-hmm.
And she paid you $940.
Correct.
Which leaves $431 if you were to split the bills in half.
Correct.
And you say that she agreed to pay the $500 phone bill in place of that. So
Correct.
she's really paying $69 more than she should have.
However, I also paid one of her truck payments for $277.97 on my credit card, and she was supposed to pay me before the following month, before interest accrued on that amount, and she did not. And then the next month, she had another bill, and she wanted me to do the same thing, charge
Just a
my
minute,
credit
Mr.
card.
Bledsoe. So is what you're saying you forgave everything as long as she paid the $500 phone bill?
It was a settlement. It was nothing more than a settlement.
What I'm asking you is what you're saying that in lieu of the truck payment and the $431,
Yes.
that you were prepared to accept the $500 phone bill.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Now I'll hear from you.
Okay, Your Honor, we need to back up because when I agreed to marry Robert Bledsoe, who I loved dearly at that time, he had convinced me that I should quit my full-time teaching job.
I'm not interested in that.
Okay. Well, I moved to Altaloma, where we rented a house. Okay, he borrowed $1,600 from his mother and father, Mr. and Mrs. Richard Bledsoe. When I received my very last teaching check, which was of $1,400, I gave him $1,200 cash for the deposit. So he gave his parents the $1,200 cash, which left $400 that he had to give them. When things didn't work out between us, okay, I lost my $1,200 deposit.
Well,
But I have to say that I worked the entire time. I was a substitute teacher.
Just a minute.
And I have my pay.
Just a second.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because I read that in the answer, and Mr. Bledsoe, you seem to have left that out, although you do indicate that she paid for 3/4 of the deposit, the
Yes.
security deposit.
She did.
On the house.
Yes.
And that was lost.
Yes.
And that was $1,200?
The security deposit
Yes.
was at $825. Then there was $825 for first month's rent.
Well, let's not count the first month's rent because you lived there.
Right.
Let's talk about the $825.
Yeah.
But we had to come up with... I'm sorry, Your Honor.
She paid the $825.
No. Well, she paid $1,050, and then I paid $600, which equaled $650. $1,650, which was the full move-in.
So she paid more than you did.
Oh, yes.
How much more?
At $400.
Okay. So she paid $400 more than you did, which she lost.
She lost that, yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I cannot prove that I gave him cash, and that's a sorry thing that I didn't get receipts from my fiancé when we were going out because I assumed that we were going to be married, and in the course of being married, that it would all wash out in the end.
And later today,
Did you ever tell your sister that this was a gift?
No, I did not, Your Honor.
She probably can't even come today and look me in the eye and say that. That's why she's not here.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robert Bledsoe wants his former fiancée, Renee Lynn Bryant, to repay him for past due bills. Renee says he made her quit her job to move in with him.
Well, it seems to me, Mr. Bledsoe, that what's fair is fair. If she lost $400 more than you did, she has to be given credit for that. Don't you believe so?
Well, no, because I offered her at the time that we were about to split up. We agreed to stay together even after we agreed to leave the house. And we had to leave the house just because I had given them a check to pay for the rent that month in July, but I didn't have the funds. She only gave me $200 to cover that. She was unable to pay her half of the rent that month.
Now,
however, I was able to pay my half of the rent.
But that's my next question to you, Mr. Bledsoe, because I read your papers very carefully, sir. You say the last month that you were there, she gave you $200 towards the rent. You wrote out a check for the entire rent, gave it to the landlord. And how much was the entire rent?
$825.
But then you stopped payment on that check.
I had to stop payment on that.
What did you do with the $200 that she gave you?
Oh, I began paying bills. I began paying the bills. Most of the bills...
Just a minute. We've already talked about the bills. The bills were the original $1,371 that you said that you had all together. What did you do with her $200? Did you give it back to her?
No. She told me I could keep it.
Well, so far, let me understand
because
this,
she knew
Mr.
that
Bledsoe.
she owed me money.
Right, but she can't keep owing you money if she keeps giving you money, sir. She gave you $200, all right?
That's part of the $940. That is not in addition to the $940. That is part of the $940, the $940.
Oh,
I have just added up everything she ever gave me.
So you are giving her credit. The $940 includes the $200?
Correct.
But it doesn't include the deposit.
It doesn't include the $400.
And it doesn't include the money that I made as a substitute teacher working for Altaloma, Cucamonga, and Riverside that I gave him cash.
Yes, it does.
Well, just a second.
All you gave me was
Just a second. You
cash.
can't prove that you gave him the cash.
You can't
Just
prove
a
that I
second.
didn't give- Excuse me, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
All right. So we have $940, and I'm adding on to the $940 $400, which is the deposit.
However,
it should only be $200 more, because if I was to pay half, I only needed to pay $200 more.
She lost $400.
Right.
She lost $400. You lost.
I lost $200.
But you're already
Or wait.
getting. Just a second. You're already getting credit for that, sir.
No, she lost $600. She
paid $400 more than you did.
Right, she paid $400.
$400 more than you did. That's all that I'm interested in. Well, that evens out the $1,371. So now all we're down to is truck payment, $277.97. Do you owe him that?
No, Your Honor.
Why not?
Because I assumed, since I had paid more the deposit, that that was his way of giving me back some of the money.
No, I've given you credit for that.
Okay.
I've given you credit
I gave
for that.
him, you see, you're right. I cannot prove that I gave him cash, and that's a sorry thing that I didn't get receipts from my fiancé when we were going out, because I assumed that we were going to be married. And in the course of our relationship of being married, that it would all wash out in the end. And I did get a full-time job, and, you know, obviously things didn't work out.
Shh, listen to me.
Yes, Your Honor.
$277 is for the truck payment. It didn't work out, so you have to pay for your own truck payment.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, you had a $500 phone bill. Show me the $500 phone bill. Is this $1,300 that you gave me, including all the utility bills and everything else?
And yes.
Well, then it includes the
rent.
telephone.
Yes. I didn't say that it didn't.
I thought you had
I'm sorry.
an ending bill of $500,
No, when I
sir.
said utilities, I
Well,
was
I've already
including
taken
phone.
care of the utilities.
Mhm.
It's a wash. The utilities and her additional $400 plus the money she gave you is a wash. So she owes you for the truck payment, $277.97, not $1,100. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $277.97. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I just want to forget about it all. But I want to say, you ladies out there, get your receipts for cash.
And now the next case.
Parties on Mackins versus Richardson. Step forward, please.
Hairdresser Terry Mackins is suing her brother-in-law, George Richardson, for a house loan and money for a stove. George says Terry is retaliating because he beat up her brother.
This is your brother-in-law?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
And he is married to your sister?
Yes, he is.
According to your complaint, you lent your brother-in-law and your sister some money.
Yes.
For house. And also sold them a stove.
Yes.
They refused to pay you for either.
As of this date, yes.
So first tell me, how much was this loan towards the house and how it came about?
I loaned my sister and my brother-in-law $700. My sister and my brother-in-law called me and asked me if I would lend them this money so they can go to closing on their home. I got cash. I got a check from my credit union account, got it mailed to me, and I got it cashed. And I gave them the cash money for their
So
home.
far, is that correct?
Yes.
And in December, we had bought our own home. And our home, in our kitchen, we wanted to do our kitchen over again. We had a brand new kitchen. And we got rid of the cabinets, and we sold my brother, my sister, my brother-in-law and my sister the stove for $150, which was to be payable as soon as they got the money as well. So that's the $850 I'm asking
Well, tell
for.
me how the sale of the stove came about.
My brother-in-law was over our house, and we had talked to him about we were getting rid of certain things in our kitchen. And we told him we were selling the stove and how much we wanted for it, and he said he wanted it. And Reginald Bear, who's my witness, delivered the stove to their house.
Okay. So, what's your story?
Well, my story is the $700 was at first given on a, well, we actually told her we was going to pay her back when we had a lawsuit and we was getting ready to settle. And we
What
said,
kind of lawsuit?
A car accident. And we were going to pay her back the money that she loaned us for the house. And Terry told us it was a gift. She gave us this money.
He's lying, Your Honor.
Just a second.
No. She gave the money to my wife. My wife initially told her that we were going to pay her back. And then she came back about, what, day later, because she calls every day, every morning at 7 o'clock, and she said, forget about the money, it's a gift. It's a housewarming gift. That's what she told my wife.
Just a second.
Sure.
Where's your wife today?
She's home. She's disgusted with the whole thing.
Just a second.
You just told me that the conversation that she had allegedly was with your wife.
Right, and she...
Well, then I'm not
me.
hearing that conversation because that's hearsay.
So is this agreement with us giving it back to her.
No, sir. Shh. Sit down. I'm not ready to hear you yet.
No problem.
No, sir. You just acknowledged that your original agreement with her, when you called to ask her for the money, was that you were going to pay her back.
Right.
And according to your sister-in-law, she has lent you money before, and you have paid her back.
Plenty of times.
And you have paid her back.
This was a gift, Your Honor.
No, no.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He's lying.
And no.
No, don't speak to him. You speak to me. Hey, sir, speak to me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Terry Mackins wants the money back she gave her brother-in-law, George Richardson. George says she's only suing because he beat up her brother.
Listen to me, sir. You're not following what I'm saying to you.
I completely
You
understand.
first said to me that it was a loan, and you agreed
No,
to pay her back.
I never... Okay.
And you agreed to pay her back. That was your understanding.
Right.
She gave you the money, and I assume you and your wife went to the closing on the house with her money, right?
Yes, we did.
And when you did that, the intention was to pay her back.
Right.
Now you tell me that she had a conversation with your wife who was not present. And your not present wife told you that it was a gift. That's what you just told me.
That's exactly what I said.
Right. Did you ever tell your sister that this was a gift?
No, I did not, Your Honor.
She probably can't even come today and look me in the eye and say that. That's why she's not here.
That is
No,
why
that's
she's
not
not
true.
here.
Absolutely.
That's not
Absolutely,
true.
that's why she's not here,
That's
because...
true. My sister, my wife is disgusted with my sister-in-law because this whole thing is all just a payback thing because I beat her brother up.
Why did you beat her brother up?
Because he assaulted me.
Your Honor, this is why we're here in court today.
Right.
This is why my brother-in-law is not paying me back, because I called him up the day after he fought my brother, and I kind of like told him about it, because what he did was not necessary. The whole thing is, George and Wendy owes me money, and I would like my money back. I don't have $700 to give nobody. I work very hard for my money, and I never told Wendy it was a gift.
Stove. You had the stove in your house. How did the stove get to your house?
The Reginald brought it over to my house.
Oh, okay. Now tell me under what circumstances Reginald brought it over to your house.
Reginald called me up and said, though, you want the stove? I said, well, look, I haven't talked to Wendy. Wendy's my wife. I said, I haven't talked to Wendy because we have gas. And I said, we have to decide, you know, if she want to convert. So he says, well, listen, I'm trying to get the stove out of the house. Can I bring it over? So I said yes. I didn't consult the Wendy because Wendy was at work. So next day he brought it over. And when he brought it, I got an enclosed porch in the front of the house, so it sat on the porch. And so I finally got around and talking to Wendy about the stove. So Wendy decided, we both decided that we didn't want to convert to electric. So I called them. I called them numerous times. Come get the stove. I even had a cookout at my house. Reggie was trying to make me buy the stove. No, man, you got to buy the stove. I'm like, what's up with this? So I called them, told them, come get the stove.
He's lying.
And no.
No, don't speak to him. You speak to me.
Listen to your
Hey,
answer,
sir, speak to me.
I called them, told them to come get the stove. They would not come to get the stove. The stove stayed on my porch running for almost 8 months. So my wife stayed on my back about, get the stove off the porch. I got a little 2-year-old. He's climbing up on the range and pulling the grill out and everything.
You sold it.
Right. So I sold the stove. I sold the stove for $30 just to get my wife off my back.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Reginald, now you step up, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, how are you related to the plaintiff?
That's my fiance.
Okay, so now tell me about the stove.
When I took the stove over there, I told him, you don't have to rush and pay me the $150, but I charged him $150 for the stove and $100 to install it because I am a licensed electrician.
Did you install it?
No, I did not. What I did,
Well,
I dropped the stove off
Well, how
on
could
his
he
porch.
use it if you didn't install it?
Well, I told him when he's ready to get it installed, I would install it for him. So, in return, I took the stove over, put it on the porch, left it there. After the occasion with the fight with him and her brother, we called him up and told him we would like to be paid for our $700
He's
as well
lying.
as our $150 for the stove.
He's
the gentleman
lying, Your
turned
Honor.
around.
All right.
He
sir,
turned around.
Sir, what I've done is I have now warned you. This is the 4th time. And I've gotten tired of warning you. So, $700 is what you owe them for the loan, and $150 for the stove. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $850. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's still lying. Out the back.
Judge
you're
Judy
right.
continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Wendy,
Like I
trust
said,
me,
Wendy,
I'm a benefit.
if-
I've been with
if
Wendy
you're
for
not
15
with him,
years.
if you're not with him, and
15
if you
years.
need something,
Your
you can come to me.
Your so-called,
Don't never ask me
your
nothing as long as you have this guy
Beyonce,
with you. He's a leak.
Your so-called Beyonce.
Keep
He's
the
a
parasite.
leak. You
Keep
claim
the
everything
parasite.
she
He's
owns.
been a leak. Keep the parasite.
Everything she owned. If it wasn't for her, you'd still be wearing polka dots and stripes.
He's a leak. And what are you wearing?
I'm matching.
Polka dots and
You're
stripes.
damn right.
Hello.
They damn right. And it's
Thank
all
you.
name brand.
All rise. Now, this is case number 393 on the calendar in the matter of Calloway versus Anderson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ex-boyfriend,
Yes, Your Honor.
who you say owes you money because you bailed him out of jail.
Yes.
When was this? How many years ago?
Oh no, it was in August.
And how much did this cost you?
$1,300.
You have a receipt for that from the bail bondsman?
Yes, I do.
How long had you been going out with him?
Okay, in the end, it was about 4.5 months.
So how long did you know him before you bailed him out?
3, I believe.
3 months. Tell me about this night that you got arrested. It was during the night?
Yeah, it's 3 in the morning. I just dropped Laurie off at her house, and at the time I was driving my truck through Richmond Heights, Missouri, and they flagged me because my plates weren't registered to the truck at the time.
How'd that happen?
They just ran my plates.
No.
Oh, okay.
How did it happen that you had the wrong plates on your truck?
I had just traded in my Grand Prix and just had the truck for about a good week or so.
Uh-huh.
And they ran my plates. It was 3 in the morning. And they ran my plates and they flagged me, and that's when they got the warrants on me.
Well, they flagged you down. Your plates didn't have warrants on them, right?
Right, but
you
I
did.
did, right.
You did. So they said license and registration.
Right.
And when they looked at your license, bingo. Now, how many warrants did you have, Mr.
Altogether,
Anderson?
I had 14.
14 warrants.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't like to go to court, sir?
No, it was just at the time I didn't take care of them.
What kind of warrants were they?
Traffic.
All traffic.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. So it's 3 o'clock in the morning in Missouri, and they haul you into jail,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And what do? You're entitled to 1 phone call. Who do you call?
First person I called was my grandmother. She had a 3-way.
And your grandmother
Okay.
said no.
I knew my grandmother didn't have the money. First person I called was Mahisha Vance. I called her first because...
Who is she?
That is my girlfriend.
Was she your girlfriend at the time?
No, we had separated and I started dating her, but I was still talking to her at the time.
So you called her first?
Yes, ma'am. I called her for a simple fact. I had a paid lawyer at the time. And I called then. After that, I called Laurie Calloway, but no one answered. So I called my mother. I told my mother to go get my truck. Therefore, she had went over to Laurie's house and picked her up. And from what my mother was telling me, that they told Laurie that
No.
basically.
Don't tell me what your mother says.
Okay.
They
Well,
told
anyway.
Laurie. Did you speak to Miss Calloway?
No, I didn't speak to Miss Calloway. I spoke to my mother. My mother went and got Miss Calloway. Miss Calloway got my truck. Then, therefore, I told her at the time, I spoke to Laurie when I called her house and asked her, did she have my truck? I had gotten
So you
another phone
did
call.
speak to Miss Calloway?
After I got to another municipality.
So you're on this bus going from one place to another to satisfy all these warrants.
Yes.
And you did, in fact, at one of those locations, call the plaintiff.
Yes, I did.
Now let's talk about the bail.
I spoke to Miss Calloway, and I told her at the time I had a paid lawyer. Yes.
What did you tell her you had to pay a lawyer for?
I had a paid lawyer. I was going to get out. She decided she wanted to get me out before she go back to school so she could see me.
Shh. You had to pay a lawyer.
I had a paid lawyer.
You had a paid lawyer.
Plus, I had $375 in my property. Okay. And that she told me she bailed me out of all those counts. She only bailed me out of 3 counties because I had money in my property when I got locked up.
What do you mean money in your property?
I had money. When they locked me up, I had $375 in my property.
In your pocket, you mean?
Yes.
Okay, so you had $375 with you.
Yes.
But you needed another $1,300 to get out of jail.
13. It would have been like 900 or so with that.
Oh.
Because when I went to the county, when I went to Richmond Heights held me. I went to Wellston. I had $375 in my property because Richmond Heights didn't hold me.
Miss Calloway, relax.
Richmond Heights didn't hold me for a bond. They just held me for the other counties. Okay.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
She spent $1,300 to get you out of jail. Now, I read something in here that you didn't show up when she got you out of jail. Did you default on this bail?
I showed up for my bail. I showed up for my court cases.
You did?
Yes.
Let me see the papers that you have.
Yes, ma'am.
You sure you showed up on all your cases? Think carefully. Did you show up on all your cases?
Think carefully.
Shh. That's very easy for me. Did you show up on all your cases, Mr. Anderson?
I don't think so.
Right. Shh. Right. And because you didn't show up on all your cases, the bail was forfeited. Isn't that what happens?
Yes.
Aren't you glad you told the truth?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I put a TV in her room. I bought her a VCR. I bought her numerous of clothes, shoes, and everything. I did not ask her to bail me out. She did this on her own.
And later today.
You want to be a bum?
No.
You're on your way.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lori Calloway says she came to the rescue of her former boyfriend, Camise Anderson, and bailed him out of jail. Now she wants payback.
Let me ask you this question. When you went before the judge and you got bailed out, did you promise the judge you would come back?
Yes, I did.
So you lied. Right? Hama? Well, you didn't come back. Did you forget? You forgot. Mister, you forgot, right?
I probably missed one case.
You forgot.
Most definitely.
Most definitely. Now, you want to tell me, sir, why you think you don't owe her this money?
For the simple fact, if that was the case, then I should be counted suing her for what I've gave her. I've gave her numerous of things. I put a TV in her, I put a TV. That was before I got locked. I put a TV in her room. I bought her a VCR. I bought her numerous of clothes, shoes, and everything. I did not ask her to bail me out. She did this on her own.
Oh.
I had a paid lawyer, you know.
Oh.
And basically, I had a paid lawyer at the time.
What is
She
your
did this
lawyer?
on
Your
her-
lawyer wasn't giving you $1,300 to get out of jail. What difference it make? You keep saying you had a lawyer. Anderson, pay the money, sir. Buying her a VCR and a television set and a couple of pairs of shoes doesn't wash. You know, you have to be, how old are you?
26.
Are you working now?
Yes, I am.
If you want to drive a car, you have to be responsible. If you get a ticket, you have to show up. If you don't show up and you have a warrant issued and the judge says to you, do you promise to come back? You got to come back.
And if because you forgot she lost her $1,300, you got to pay up $1,300 for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Yeah, 125. Who's stupid? Who's paying? I'm not. But your man is. All right, but your man. That's the whole. That's the whole point. You're right. Did you hear yourself? My man. Your man. My man.
And you can have him.
Okay, and I got him. Had him all the time.
And you can have him.
And I got him.
And you can have him. Both of y'all can talk to my diploma, because don't neither one of y'all have one.
And now the next case.
Parties on Maldonado versus Ashlock. Step forward, please.
34-year-old Anthony Maldonado claims neighbor Debbie Ashlock's 13-year-old nephew, Christopher Ashlock, vandalized his home.
You folks are neighbors.
Yes, we are.
Live in private houses?
Yes, ma'am.
How close to each other do you live?
10 feet apart.
So you're right next door neighbors?
Right.
How long have you been neighbors?
About 4 years.
This is your nephew?
Yes.
The nephew at issue?
That's correct.
How long has he been living with you?
7 years.
How old are you, young man?
13.
What's your name?
Chris.
Mr. Maldonado, according to your complaint, this young man causes a lot of damage to your property.
Correct.
Miss Ashlock says she can't be responsible for all the neighborhood kids. Whatever damage her nephew has, in fact, caused to your property, she's prepared to pay for. Let's hear about the fence, because the fence seems to be something that you agree you're responsible for, or this young man is responsible for. What happened to your fence, and what kind of fence was it?
It's a cinder block wall that I ended up putting up on my own. She wasn't able to afford to pay her part of it. I did urge her to try to help me with it because it was a very large wall and it was
Mr. Maldonado.
Expensive. Yes, ma'am.
We're not going back to the flood, sir. I want you to tell me about the damage to the fence that he caused.
He removed all the grout, ma'am.
All the grout?
Yes.
Explain to me how he removed the grout from the cinder block, sir.
He must have had a lot of energy because, he dug into the grout, into the blocks, with, I believe, some sort of sharp instrument, maybe a screwdriver or something. I saw both, actually him and two of his friends, who are my other next-door neighbors, doing that.
Did you sue them?
I did not sue them because I actually saw him with the device. And,
yeah, but they were all doing it, you said.
Well, they were all within the vicinity, yes. Eventually, they all admitted.
All right, so how much did this cost you to regrout the fence?
Actually, there was estimates for $60 to just regrout it, which isn't much. I guess it's mostly the principal. I've had a lot of problems with them.
Let me explain something to you.
Right.
This is a court.
Right.
So if there was damage caused that you saw, or that you have a witness, and that witness saw, I'm prepared to hear that. So I want you to tell me, other than this grout, which costs $60, okay, so 20 bucks of that we will attribute to him because he was there with two other people who were probably all chipping away at the grout. Right?
Yes.
And what were you using to chip away at the grout?
Stick, Your Honor.
What else did you see him do?
I saw them throwing stones this one afternoon before I left for work. He and his two friends again over onto my yard. It's always happening on their side of the house. They were throwing stones. I alerted them not to throw any more. And when I left for work, I come back late at night. I noticed that there were cracks in my skylight. And it was raining, so it started leaking. I went up there, found out that there was also bricks up there that had been thrown up there purposely to crack my skylight open.
But, Mr. Maldonado, you didn't see who did that?
I didn't actually see the person that threw the exact stone, no, Your Honor.
Or the bricks?
Right.
Tell me, Mr. Maldonado, what other damage you actually saw, if any, Chris do to your home?
I've had also an assault. I mean, that time that I caught them digging into the grout. They were assaulting me with dirt clods. That's one of the
Throwing dirt clods at you.
Right, and some of them did hit me.
All right, so what I'm gathering from this, Mr. Maldonado, is other than the business with the grout, you didn't actually see Chris here do anything to your property, but you surmised it was Chris and his friends because you're a pretty good guesser.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Every time Chris turned around, Anthony was blaming him for something that he didn't do. Excuse me, but the last 2 years have been very stressful with this neighbor.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Anthony Maldonado says his neighbor's nephew, Christopher Ashlock, damaged his property.
No. You go to school?
Yes.
Did you get a report card last year?
Yeah.
How'd you do?
Not really good.
You know, Chris, I could have told you that. You want to be a bum?
No.
You're on your way. Jump! Because he can't prove to me that you did, or not you alone, you with other neighborhood kids, you with a couple of friends. He can't prove to me that you did all the damage to the house, so that I can't charge you for it. You know if you did it. And if you're spending your time vandalizing somebody else's property rather than going to school and trying to make something of yourself, then you're going to grow up to be a bum. That's what's going to happen. What are you going to do for Mr. Maldonado to correct this damage that you've been doing to his house?
We've already fixed it.
You fixed it?
Yeah.
Tell me what you fixed.
The wall.
Mm-hmm. Did he fix the wall?
It was very haphazardly done, yes.
But
Mr.
it's
Honor.
fixed.
Yes.
You going to bother him anymore?
No, I haven't bothered him for a long time. It was a couple years ago that we did this to his wall.
Miss Ashlock, is there anything you want to say?
Yes, in Christopher's defense, the wall, excuse me, but the last 2 years have been very stressful with this neighbor. But the wall was an accumulation of it was like Christopher's frustration. He realizes it was wrong and he shouldn't have done it. And we had to talk about it and he was punished for it and I fixed the wall.
Okay.
And it didn't cost $60, it was free. But in his frustration out of Anthony doing all these things to him, every time Chris turned around, Anthony was blaming him for something that he didn't do. It was his way of retaliating against somebody a little bigger than he is.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
My sense is, Miss Ashlock, that Chris has a lot of frustrations. His parents aren't together, lived with his father. Father not around anymore, he's with his aunt and his grandmother, and decided doesn't have both feet planted right, and his school is suffering, and he's hanging around with kids and getting himself into trouble. All of those things are probably true, right?
They were maybe 6 months ago.
Okay, well, if he's back on track, that's really good. And I'm pleased to hear that. You sound like a very nice lady. So your wall is fixed, and you can't prove that Chris did any other damage. You probably felt it, but can't prove it. So, Mr. Maldonado, there isn't an award that I can give you, sir. You understand that?
I understand that.
I believe that you understand that your neighbor is a nice lady. And is trying her best under difficult conditions. Right?
I realize that, ma'am.
Good. So, try to be understanding. And you got to realize that when you take on this kind of responsibility, sometimes there are problems, and you got to deal with them.
And I do. I try to.
I know you do. I wish you a lot of good luck.
Thank you.
Because it's going to be, how old is your niece?
10.
How do you do in school?
Good.
Yes?
She's on the honor roll.
Great. I'm pleased to hear that. Good luck.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I have lived with this man for the last 2 years, constantly harassing me. I just want him to leave me alone. Just forget I live there. You stay on your side of the fence, we'll stay on ours.
I will. Just have your kids, not vandalize my property.
Do not vandalize your property.
Well, she didn't know the entire story. Their family's clearly dysfunctional. They have problems. They can't seem to relate to anyone else besides within themselves, their own family. And I'm probably going to have to put up with it until I move or until something else happens.
Order, all rise.
Your Honor, this is case number 374 on the calendar in the matter of Fuller versus Lewaneg. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may have a seat.
Miss Fuller, you're suing the defendant because you allege that he owes you money for the year that his daughter lived with you.
That's correct.
Now, this was sort of an interesting story. You took her into your home without his permission. Is that correct?
Yes.
Well, why don't you tell me how that came about?
She wanted to finish her last year of high school down here to play basketball.
Where is down here?
She was at Paramount at the time, but I live in Dominguez District. She ran away before her father moved to Victorville with her friend. Her father went over there, caused a big scene, had the police involved.
Because his daughter ran away?
Yes. Rashika called her mother in Arkansas and had...
Sir, you and your daughter's mother are divorced, is that right?
We were divorced, ma'am. That's right.
And your daughter was living with you?
She let me keep her for the meantime. She wants to go down.
She was, in fact, at the time that we're talking about, living with you when she
Living
ran
with
away.
me. Yes, ma'am.
Which is the daughter? That's you.
Rashika.
Now, how did you get involved with her?
Through basketball. I met Rashika when she was playing basketball with my daughter. I was the team mother for Paramount's basketball team. They didn't have a lot of support, and I went to all the girls' games. I took the
So that's how you got involved with her?
Yes.
So now we're up to a point where she ran away from her father's house.
Yes.
And somehow contacted you.
Yes.
And you said you can come and live with me.
I talked to her mother in Arkansas.
You didn't speak to her father?
No.
You called her mother?
Rashika called her mother.
Rashika called her mother, with whom she wasn't living at the time?
No.
And her mother gave you permission for her to live in your house?
I have the notarized. She came the next day. I have the authorization.
Okay. And she signed papers, her mother signed papers for her to live in your house?
Yes, and then we went to court, and the court gave me temporary guardianship.
Okay. With her mother's permission?
Yes.
But according to your papers, not with her father's permission?
No.
Father was not happy about this. Is that right, sir?
That's true.
He said he didn't know where she was.
So how long did she stay with you?
From June the 17th, 1996 until June the 22nd, 1997.
Now, according to your papers, she played you like a violin.
Yes, she did.
You didn't know that at the time.
No. I looked at that beautiful face, Your Honor, and I believed everything she told me.
Now, you believed everything, all the bad things she told you about her father, that he didn't understand her, that he was verbally abusive to her. You believed all that?
When I first met Rashika, I could see that she was unhappy. She was crying a lot. I could tell she was an unhappy child.
So, Miss Fuller, my question to you is, you interfered with a family situation. Because when she finally left your home,
yes,
she went back to her father, right?
Yes. After she graduated from high school, she went to college. But she went back to her father.
Yes, he gave her a car and offered her money, and she left.
Whatever. She went back to her father.
Yes.
So this was a teenager in rebellion. She left her mother's house, right, to go to live with her father? Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am. That's true.
How long have you been divorced from her mother?
Oh, about 15 years.
And how long had she lived with her mother?
14.
And how many years did she live with you?
About a year and a half until she met Miss Fuller.
Yes.
Rashika's mom told me that she was financially unable to care for Rashika and her sister Renisha. That's when she sent them out here. This is what her mom said.
Doesn't sound right to me. You don't send two children to their father after they've been living with you for 15 years or for 14 years because you're financially unable to take care of them.
She said she had had an accident and was hurt and wasn't able to take care
Well,
of them.
when you met her, when she came to sign the guardianship papers,
yes.
Did she appear to be injured to you?
Maybe.
What does maybe mean?
She seemed to, like she had a head injury, maybe.
She didn't have a head injury that prevented her from signing these guardianship papers.
No.
Or from understanding that she was turning over legal custody to you of her daughter.
She told me she was unable to care for her. Her father was abusive.
All right. I assume you have at least one teenage daughter?
Yes.
Just so you know that teenage daughters can be difficult sometimes? Or yours aren't difficult?
My youngest one wasn't.
And what about the older one?
Well, they did good. All my children graduated from high school.
I didn't
never
ask...
really had any problems with them.
Well, then you should be written up in Guinness Book of Records because most women,
very lucky.
most mothers who have teenage daughters know that they're a little difficult at times.
I was very lucky.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
At the time, I felt he didn't understand, but now that I see it and I'm, in college, and I see my sister going through getting disciplined, I understand she needs it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Doris Fuller wants Ray Lewanig to pay her for taking care of his daughter, Roshika. Ray says she took his daughter without his permission.
Now, I want to know why you think that this man ought to pay you anything.
Well, for child support, when the courts gave me temporary custody of Roshika, the judge sent us, Ray and Roshika and I, to go talk. We went to the IHOP in Compton. He offered me $400 a month child support. I said that was fine. Roshika and her dad left. When she came back, I asked her for the check. She was hesitant to give it to me.
What month was this?
In May.
That was a month before she left?
Yes.
Well, why are you suing for $4,200 if I believe you, that you say he agreed to pay you $400 a month, and then his daughter went back to him within a month? Why should I give you $4,200?
I had her for a year.
Right.
And when she came to play basketball...
I'm not interested in anything else. What I'm really concerned about is you took this child without her father's permission. You discussed the matter with her mother, not her father. Her mother gave you guardianship. You made no attempt, according to what you've told me, to get some child support from her mother, who was the one...
She sent me $75.
She sent you $75. You're suing him for almost $5,000. She was the one who gave you permission to take her daughter without his consent. He didn't even know where she was. Is that right, sir?
That's very true, ma'am.
Were you collecting welfare for her?
No.
Who was covering her medical insurance?
Her father paid her medical insurance. The one time I took her to the doctor, they gave me a $5 payment, and I paid that.
So she wasn't on anybody's welfare budget?
No.
Okay, sir. How much money did you give her in total to take care of your daughter after you knew where she was?
Well, I tried to negotiate with her because I saw my daughter in good, condition.
When was that? What month was that?
In May, right after the court hearing. We went to IHOP, and I offered, look, I can only give you $200 a month in front of her because As far as I know, she was with her mom.
You mean before that you thought she had been with her mother?
Uh-huh.
And then you went to court.
I went to court.
This was in May of '97.
Yes, ma'am, May of '97.
And in May of '97, you went to IHOP and had this discussion about support. And how much money did you give her in May?
I didn't give her anything. I offered her $200. And
Right.
I thought she agreed. So I went to the bank with her, gave her the $200.
Did you give?
I explained it to her. I cannot afford $400 because I just moved out. I got 2 young kids now of my own from my new marriage. And she's not in my budget because I know she's gone.
Okay.
Gone back to her mom.
Step up here. You're the daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you go back to your father's house?
After we had in court, we all went out to breakfast and we cried. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You were ready to go home?
Yeah.
Hmm?
I had seen my little sister and my little brother, and I wanted to, and my father, we talked things out, and I wanted a relationship with him again.
You think that part of the problems that you were having with your dad that caused you to leave were at least in part your fault?
When I was with my mom, I never got disciplined. So when he disciplined me, I rebelled.
When you
And-
say he disciplined you?
Grounded me.
Grounded you?
Took my car away.
And your mom never did those things?
No.
That wasn't wrong of him to do, right?
No. Well, at the time, I felt...
You thought it was?
He was just all against me, and he didn't understand, you know, and... But now that I see it, and I'm, you know, in college, and I see my sister going through getting disciplined, I understand she needs it.
Miss Fuller, let me tell you what you did, madam. You interfered in a family situation. You had no business interfering with this family situation. Took it upon yourself to take this man's daughter, who was living with him, and he seems like a perfectly reasonable, responsible man, and according to his daughter, did absolutely nothing but discipline him in reasonable ways. Grounded her, took away her car, and she wasn't used to it because her mother never did any of those things. Now, the fact that she, to you, was upset and crying and seemed unhappy with her father, that's not a reason for you to interfere in a family situation. I mean, if you took some time and if you let the situation take some time, there is a possibility that father and daughter could have worked things out. But instead, you hopped in there.
Your Honor.
Yes.
When Rashika called me, she told me her father did not have custody of her. Her mother had custody of her.
Miss Fuller, you knew she was living with her father.
Yes. We went to go get Rashika. Her mother and I went to go get Rashika. We took the Southgate police with us because Rashika and her mother said they were afraid for us to go there by themselves because he's a violent man and he had a lot of guns in the home.
Well,
we
listen to
took
me.
The Southgate police with us.
Listen to me. That was all a lot of baloney. She's back with her father. So whatever stories you got from either Rashika or her mother were not true, because if they were, and if she was genuinely fearful of her father because he has a violent temper and because he has guns in the house, she would not be living with him now.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. And later today...
So you gotta learn to get your story straight. Before you gave me some baloney story about you said yes, you was gonna pay her back, but then your check was all messed up and you couldn't pay her back. Come on, get it together.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Doris Fuller wants Ray Lewanig to pay her for taking care of his daughter, Roshika. Ray says she took his daughter without his permission.
You butted in, and if you butted in, you gotta pay. So your lawsuit against this man is dismissed.
And I suggest to you that before you take in any other teenagers and take them away from their custodial parents, and he was at that time the custodial parents, you better make darn sure that there is a good and valid reason. And that sometimes means leaving it up to professionals and stepping back. You're a biological stranger from this family. He didn't give his consent. He had absolutely no reason to have his child removed from his custody, other than the fact that, according to her, and I believe her, he disciplined her by grounding her when she did something wrong and by taking her car away. He's her father. He has an absolute right to do that. So, your lawsuit against him is dismissed. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She took it upon herself. I told her again and again, this is blood related. You're nobody.
You hadn't seen her
I'm
for
the father.
11 months, Ray.
Of course I never saw her because you
didn't-
hid her from me.
No, I didn't.
And now, the next case.
Parties on Sanders versus Murray. Step forward, please.
23-year-old Heather Sanders wants her former good friend, 25-year-old Jennifer Murray, to pay her back for the repairs on her car.
You two were good friends?
Yes.
How long had you been friends?
For about 2 years, 2.5 years.
And Miss Murray, you had an accident with your car?
Yes.
What kind of an accident did you have?
A repair problem. The car broke down and it needed some repairs.
So you asked the plaintiff if she would put it on her credit card?
Well, actually, I told her that the car broke down and she said that she could help me out, and then I agreed.
Doesn't sound 100% logical, but let's take it from there. So she put it on her credit card, the repairs,
Yes.
$627, something like that?
About, yeah, $646.
And what was the arrangement as far as paying back this money?
The arrangement was that she was going to pay me half within 2 weeks after the day that it was charged, and then the balance within another 2 weeks, so all together within a month.
What happened?
I never got any of the money back. Well, I got $100. What happened was a month went by, and she said, well, I have over half of the money, and I'll give you over the half on Wednesday, October the 1st. So I went to her house that day to pick up the money, and she gave me a $100 bill, and she said, well, I don't have any more of the money, and I will pay you back when I can. Stop calling me, stop bugging me. And basically, that was it.
Go ahead.
That's pretty much what happened. She said that I told her that I would pay her back all the money, and I made arrangements to pay her back a couple of weeks when I got paid. But something happened with my check where I didn't get paid right away like I was supposed to, and I told her that they messed my money up or something. And she said that didn't matter. She wanted her money right then and there. I said, well, my job messed up my check. I don't have it, so I'm going to have to wait another 2 weeks until I get paid.
So why didn't you give it to her after another 2 weeks?
That's when I gave her the $100. I gave her what I could. I didn't have the full amount right away.
Well, what was your arrangement with her?
To originally pay her back after a couple of weeks, but when...
That's not what you said in your answer. Did you forget what you wrote in your answer?
No, she said pay her back whatever I can, but whatever I can, just as long as I pay her back the money.
You know, you keep changing your story, Miss Murray. But bottom line is, you owe her the rest of the money. Total bill was what? $676.14. Is that the bill?
Yes.
Is that the bill?
Yes.
All right.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
I'm just going to remind you, Miss Murray, that you swore in your answer that the agreement was that you put it on the credit card and you would repay back small amounts, small payments, just as long as the statement was covered for the month. And that the reason you didn't pay her back all the money is because then she said she wanted it all back at one time. So you got to learn to get your story straight.
That is what happened.
Well,
But
you
the
didn't tell me that before.
Before you gave me some baloney story about you said yes, he was going to pay her back, but then your check was all messed up and you couldn't pay her back. Come on, get it together. Okay. Judgment in this case for the plaintiff in the amount of $576.14. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
She started off nice, and then she got irate, and then she started banging on my front door, and then she started making threatening comments and stuff, and she turned to a different person. She has an evil side to her, like she'll snap, like, I don't know, just weird stuff. Not friendship stuff.
There was no real friendship to begin with. If money can come through, money can come between it.
হ্যালো গাইস হোয়াটসঅ্যাপ কি অবস্থা তোমাদের কেমন আছো তোমরা চলো আমরা চলে যাচ্ছি আর একটা জোনের ভিতরে শিপইয়ার্ডে চলে যাই আমাদের পিছনে দিকে দুইটা স্কোয়াড আসতেছে
Stay alert. Help me. Still on cooldown.
চিন্তার কোনো কারণ নাই আমরা চলে যাব
মুকুল ভাই আপনার সাইডে এনিমি আছে
আমার পাশে এনিমি আছে সমস্যা নাই আমি
চলে যেতেছে আপনার অপোজিটে
এইটা দিয়ে চলে যাই আমি আগে
বাইরের পিস দি গ্রাফিক্স কার্ড আছে
আছে তো
কোনটা
আমার মনে হয় 1660 সুপার প্লাস
ও আচ্ছা
Go.
আপনার কি চালান
টোকেন কত লাগে টোকেন
Still on cooldown.
আরো লাগবে
না
I'll be a sniper.
তো গাইস এই হচ্ছে অবস্থা লং রেঞ্জের গান এখনো পাই নাই
I'll be a sniper. I'll be a sniper. I'll be a sniper. I need ammo. Resources here.
এনিমি বাইক দিয়ে যাইতেছে মারো 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 নিচে
ড্যামেজ লাগছে 100 ড্যামেজ লাগছে
বাইক দিয়ে তো ওটা তো ধরা যাবে না
আচ্ছা যায় না আছে এখানে ভাই আসেন মুকুল ভাই আসেন
আমি যাইতেছি বেশি
যায় না এখানে আছে
I'll be a sniper.
আমার কাছে লাইক
সাউন্ড পাইছি তো কিন্তু কই গেল
I need ammo.
ছিল তো এখানেই
চলে গেছে মনে হয় সাইড সুট দিয়ে পালানোর জন্য তোর ওস্তাদ
আরে সাইলেন্সার কিনলাম
I need ammo.
কিন্তু সাইলেন্সার